Grizzly going crazy, nigga.
Roller coaster motor at the stoplight, catch me at the finish line, flashing at the finish. Following the kid like a spotlight, why you keep asking same questions? Roller coaster motor at the stoplight, catch me at the finish line, flashing. Following the kid like a spotlight, why you keep asking same questions? I remember going to school, never had the latest shoes. You was raised to make it cool, I was raised to make a move. We was playing with different bags, so I kept getting shitted on. It was motivation, telling myself stay patient. Package touchdown, gotta relocate it. If that body got took down, guess it was donated. Plug ain't from round town, but we both native. Yeah, sliding with my body, I got a Joe waiting. Can't let these hoes spend the night, ain't got no home training. Heard your damn mixtape, gave it a low rating. Yeah, streets reply, I look right in a Mercedes. Creep at night, the city lights going bright. She popping it like that is meant for, can be no road and extendo. Bitch, I put me in the friend zone till she see me in the end zone. Horse calling from other zip code, trapping hard, I need a flip on this, the new pack, the last one, bingo. Roller coaster motor at the stoplight, catch me at the finish line, flashing at the finish line. Following the kid like a spotlight, why you keep asking same questions? Roller coaster motor at the stoplight, catch me at the finish line, flashing at the finish line. Following the kid like a spotlight, why you keep asking same questions? Stepping out cool, rock and roll my watch and shoes. They scream wave ain't bring a pool, mainstream thing to scream my moves. Jack hit me up like gotta leave round 2. Know what's going on, man, you need it come through. I'm the neighborhood superintendent. Dogs in the den, got the cushion in the kitchen. Look here baby, I'm on real time. Needle in a haystack, but still shine. Wave guard, grill gold like a face guard. I did a bid and tell him wait for it. Grill gold like a face guard. I did a bid and tell him. Roller coaster motor at the stoplight, catch me at the finish line, flex. Following the kid like a spotlight, why you keep asking same questions? Roller coaster motor at the. Go out the way just to help my position.
Out this world productions.
Go out the way just to help my position. When I was broke, I just knew I would get it. That hate shit you want ain't no good for my spirit. It is what it is, I got tired of forgiving. Mouth full of ghost crackers smiling and glisten. Out with the old, my phone jumping this Wednesday. Knew I was special, just needed a listen. Lift up a latch and detaching the ceiling. Super Dushani, the motherfucking greatest. This my new rental, don't care, I drag racing. In your apartment, I'm popping the latest. Started finessing, so that's how we played it. Stepped envelopes, got it right on my brothers. No competition, we shine with each other. So many nights had my mind in the gutter. Mama told me like, boy, keep it together. Link with a big booty freak, it's whatever. Bet like a ring, we ain't cutting, we wrestle. Call my connect, need a package of pressure. Mind on my money, you know how I'm stepping. Take your advice, but I really ain't need it. You in my presence, 1K, how you keep it? Act like a star so they don't treat me basic. Bills late, niggas start getting creative. Go out the way just to help my position. When I was broke, I just knew I would get it. That hate shit you want ain't no good for my spirit. It is what it is, I got tired of forgiving. Mouth full of ghost crackers smiling and glisten. Out with the old, my phone jumping this Wednesday. Knew I was special, just needed a listen. Lift up a latch and detaching the ceiling. Super Dushani, the motherfucking greatest. This my new rental, don't care, I drag racing. In your apartment, I'm popping the latest. Started finessing, so that's how we played it. I'm detaching the ceiling. I'm full of ghosts while it's shining and glisten. Talking my language, that's tired of forgiving. smiling and glisten. Out with the old, I'm gon' jump in this Wednesday. Go out the way. Open the distance. It's what it is. I got tired of forgiving.
Hey, hey, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, Ski. Everything all right?
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, I'm good. Just getting a little bit of stuff set up, but I'm good. How you feeling, man?
Oh man, I can't complain, man. It's the weekend. You know what I'm saying? Life
I
is life is for the living.
hear that.
Life
Couldn't
is
wait for the week, man. I couldn't wait. It was just seemed like it was a long week, yo, and I just couldn't wait. I work with kids and shit, so I was looking forward. I was like, man, I need the next couple of days off. You know, yeah.
understood. What city you in?
I'm in DC.
Okay, okay. You out there in Black Hollywood, man.
All right. Let's see. Got this.
Um, before we get started, I want you to introduce yourself to the people and let us know what you're gonna be dropping today. Did you see the title of the show?
Yeah. That's cool. All right. Man, what's going on, fam? It's me, Hercules, man, Washington D.C. in the building. Um, so my background. My background is martial arts. I trained since I was a kid in martial arts and stuff. Been I guess woke as we used to say. We always said that shit. The white people want to say it now. Been woke like since I was 13. Grow up. My dad made sure that I learned the real shit, right? The real history and stuff. So ever since I was a kid, about 12 and 13. I remember about those ages. He had us watching. We had to watch the lectures. You know what I'm saying? Of John Henry Clark and like Marima Ani and Francis Cress Wilson and Amos Wilson and all that stuff. And as a kid, you sitting there like, the hell are they talking about? It was like a lot of stuff was just over our heads, but it stuck with me over the years. When I got 16, he sent me some books. I was living with my mom, and he sent me books to read, and that's when I started reading and stuff on my own. Just started picking up books and just reading and shit. And ever since then, he never stopped. He never stopped. It's always been, good to learn. Good to read. And you always, what I'm saying, you always find new stuff. So
It's safe to say you've been woke forever.
It's been learned. It's been a long time. It's been a long. Yeah, it's been a good minute. And like when I first, it was good when I first went to college. It was like I was already like on that level. And most people, they was coming into the level. You know what I'm saying? They was just now waking up. And I would always win debates and arguments because I've already read the books and I had my sources. I was like, nah, man, you got to read and check this out and this and that. Even my professors, they love me. They had love me. They was like, yo, man, you were very knowledgeable because like, yeah, I was reading, and I just didn't read the history joints. I was doing economics as well and like psychology and all that as well. So I was already like there. So 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 tonight my background is in mathematics, bachelor's degree mathematics, focusing operations research. So I teach 8th grade math, middle school joint. So yeah, and
Okay, okay, we got a teacher out here. Okay, that's what I like to see, man. Giving back to the community, man. Hey, one thing I like. Let me just say this for the people out there that think teachers are not important. For the people out there that think teachers are not important, understand this. My sixth grade, my sixth grade social studies teacher. I'm man. When I say at least, I want to say it was every other Friday or every Friday. Man, this black brother, um, all around, all even haircut, tall brother. Peace, Uncle Shaka. Just mute your mic and sit back. Peace, Uncle Shaka. Just mute your mic and sit back. So basically, you know what I'm saying? Tall brother, commendable brother, um, great leader. I want to say every Friday or every other week out the month, he would get dressed up, put this gold. You know how they used to have them fake grills in the little quarter
Yeah,
machine. He used
yeah.
to put the little grill in, have a suit on, and have an afro, and just turn into a character teaching the class. It made school so interesting. I remember when I left that summer going into the seventh grade, he sent a letter to my house basically saying thank you for being a great student. Man, I remember like 2018, 19, I ended up reconnecting with him. I got him. I'm so happy I got him on this platform. He ended up passing away about 2 months ago. So
Oh,
teachers are
wow.
important. Your kids gonna remember you for the rest of their lives, brother.
Yeah, yeah. That's real, man. Um, for me, so I just started teaching public school because I was in the martial arts for the past 20 years. I was teaching that. So I just started getting down to public school. So it's yeah, it's a good experience. It's interesting experience, I should say. Definitely. So yeah, so tonight what we're gonna do just a mathematical, just do a mathematical little history lesson, not history, but looking at ancient Egypt, ancient Kemet, mathematics, looking at black mathematics, and talking about what is black science and stuff. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen.
All right, hey man, everybody, it's the perfect time, to get your blunts out, pull your cup up or your favorite ooh icky, and man, we about to go down this powerful um episode of learning. You know what I'm saying? Over here we learn every day, and Uncle Hercules we got a presentation set up just for us, talking about um how we do this shit, comedic mathematics from the motherlands. All right, Uncle, got the flow. Like, share, and subscribe. Get your pen and paper out. Like, share, and subscribe. Get your pen and paper out.
Give me one more second. Hold up. Give me 1 second. I want to see something real quick.
All right. No sweat.
Yeah. So my screen is sharing, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. Um, it's this one, right? Not that one. I need to press that. Go back. All right. All right. I wanted to do. I guess I don't know. I just leave it right there. All right. So, um, talk about black mathematics, Kemetic mathematics, advanced mathematics, and ancient Kemet. All right, and so for I know you all the audience that's watching, everybody understands what Kemet was, ancient Egypt. So we on that level. Um, Here, wait. All right, sorry about that. All right. This is the introduction, the prerequisite of my approach and how I'm approaching this topic. So advanced mathematics of Black people is older than what we think. Our ancestors was doing math, 100,000 years ago, doing advanced stuff. All right. The math history. Now this is a class. This is a class I had to take, the history of mathematics. And when it comes to math history, pretty sure y'all have you guys know, like the BBC and the History Channel, the National Geographic Channel. They do a lot of couple of math history documentaries and stuff. So when you watch those documentaries, they always try to make it seem like the ancestors were just guessing at doing math. There was no rigorous, work done. It was, they just happened to arrive at the answer. And so I recommend that you don't watch those documentaries. You don't have your children watch those documentaries. In fact, Dr. Mayat, she did a good documentary on math, on history of ancient Kemet, and Brother Reggie also did one. And there's a couple of other brothers.
Peace to Dr. Mayat and Uncle Reggie, by the way.
Yeah, definitely. There's other couple of brothers and sisters out there who are doing some good documentaries on it, and so just watch them instead, because when you, like I said, when you watch like BBC and even this book that I had for class, they give you that impression that, like, man, ancient Egyptians, they arrived at pi, they tried to, not quite, and all this all this stuff, like, they really didn't, know the Pythagorean theorem, they just, arrived at it, it's like it's like that. So that's why I'm saying, don't watch that crap. All right, because our ancestors did rigorous math work. The other part of this is that African philosophy. We know a lot about African history, but a lot of people, we don't study African philosophy. Cheikh Diop said that if you want to understand ancient Egypt, then you have to look towards inner Africa. We can't look outside of Kemet to explain the culture of Kemet, because Kemet was a purely African culture. Okay, and so to understand Kemet, you have to read the culture, the philosophical texts from other African cultures and societies. And this is a couple of books I have on African philosophy and come and understand African philosophy, because we usually use European philosophy to do our arguments and our understanding. But once you really study African culture and the history, all of the history, the philosophy, the spirituality, and all that stuff, you have to come to the conclusion, like I did. You would see African culture is the complete opposite of Western culture, complete opposite. So by studying African philosophy, you're going to get a different point of view. You'll have a different understanding and approach to the world. All right. Pseudoscience is Black science. Now I know it's going to trigger some people. They were like, what did you just say? Yeah, pseudoscience is Black science. And when I say pseudoscience, I'm not talking about all that, the controversy stuff about, vaccines,
Hey, Uncle Hercules, can you make the screen bigger? Like, can you present?
Yeah, that's what I was trying to do. Like, let it only be on the screen.
I think you would have to put view, click that view right there.
But if I click that one, I can't see the controls.
Okay, I got you. Go
Wait,
ahead.
let me see. All right, hold on. Let me stop. Let me see something. If I stop sharing, let me see something real quick. Come back in.
You should be able to once you put it on the big screen, all you should be able to need is your arrows or your enter.
Oh, okay.
Let's go to the next slide.
All right, let's see that.
Thanks to everybody coming in. Like, share, and subscribe. The title of this show is called Right Information versus White Information. Get your pen and pad, get your drink, get you something to smoke, and let's learn.
Oh, okay. Yeah. You're right. So, bam.
There we go. All right, let me move my logo out the way. You got it, brother.
All right. So as I was saying, pseudoscience, is black science. When I'm talking about pseudoscience, I'm not talking about the controversial stuff, like the vaccine stuff. People talking about. I'm not talking about that. When white people start calling stuff pseudoscience, they was referring to us, the stuff that we did, we came up with, like astrology, numerology, talking to the spirits and stuff like that, and getting answers. They call that pseudoscience. And the only reason they call it pseudoscience is because they couldn't do it. So they like, that's pseudoscience, man. So that's why they call it pseudoscience. And it's actually, that's the science that we come from. Now, here's a quote from Marshall Clegg from out of the book Ancient Egypt Science, Volume 3. What did he say? During the 3,000 years of Pharaonic Egypt, there was no natural philosophy or physics that was separated from religion, myth, and magic. Again, during the 3,000 years of Pharaonic Egypt, there was no natural philosophy or physics that was separated from religion, myth, and magic. Now, Marimba Ani told us this in the book, Let the Circle Be Unbroken. She said the Europeans, they separated science from religion. Actually, no, that was from Urugu, her book in Urugu. And you have to understand that, our ancestors did science and religion, their religion, together. It was not separate. Because I know some people, I've heard people say, once they became more advanced, they stopped with all the religion stuff. They let it go. No, they did not. And I will also show you why later. I'm going to explain later why they didn't separate it. Okay, so our science and spirituality goes together. It goes hand in hand. And to just separate science from spirituality, that means you're not doing black science. A lot of people think that there is no difference between black science. There's no such thing as black science and European science, white science. What are you talking about, man? And that's coming from our enemies, not us. That's coming from our enemies. Marimba Ani had explained this. Jacob Carruthers had explained this to us. Amos Wilson explained this to us. He told us that there is a difference in doing science the way white people do it and the way black people do it. There's a different approach to how you do science. White people's way of doing science is study nature, extract the elements from nature, find a way to exploit these elements to make a profit. That was white people's way of doing science. That's not was, but that is their way of doing science. That's science to them. For us, it was an understanding that we are one with nature, connect with nature and the universe. That was our understanding of way of doing science. All right. From my man, Dr. Rashid, he's going off. Jacob Carruthers had wrote an essay called "Science and Oppression," and he says, "I've noticed a number of African thinkers who present themselves as African-centered, as advocates of re-Africanization, who emphasize the imperative of us reclaiming our culture and restoring our sovereignty, while also hoisting Western science as the path to our redemption. I am puzzled as to how an appreciation for the former does not generate a more critical view of the latter position." I'm puzzled too, Dr. Rashid. I don't understand this. We're gonna use the same we're gonna use the same science that they're using to re-Africanize our people. It's not gonna work. It's not gonna work. We have to get back to doing science the way our ancestors did. We have to get back to sacred science. Seriously, we got to get back to sacred science. Now, I'm pretty sure you guys know these two people. You might not know the white girl. That's Sabina Hofstadfeld. She's a physicist, a theoretical physicist. I have a couple of her books. And that's, man, Dr. Neil Dyson, right? Dyson.
Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Right, Tyson. I forget his name. Both of these are prominent, well-known scientists in the field of physics. And both of them have said that there is no such thing as a soul. There is no such thing as a spirit. Because in Western culture, once you become, a more advanced in science, you also supposed to become non-spiritual. You become less spiritual. That's Western ideology. That is a Western point of view. And you will see why. I'll explain to you why that happens in Western culture. The more advanced you are in technology, you become less religious. And we see this in movies all the time, like the Three Body Problem. If anybody's seen the Three Body Problem, when the guy, I think the guy asked the mom, "Hey, do you believe in God?" And she was like, "What? No, we scientists over here. We don't believe that." That is a Western view of being a scientist. That is not a Black view of being a scientist. All right. So now let's talk some math. We do some mathematics. This is a big topic, a big subject, and it was bigger than I actually thought it was. You go into a lot of different directions, so I'm gonna try to stay focused on just a few concepts. Mainly, I'm gonna focus on differential equations, partial differential equations, and complex analysis, and that way just stay in that area. Because, like I said, it's a big topic. We could go everywhere. Black mathematics, man. Mathematics, Black people is old. It's been going on for 100,000 years. We've been doing this. Old. We find this structure in South Africa. It's built. Excuse me. It's built over 100,000 years ago.
How long?
They say it's over
How long?
Over 100,000 years ago.
Dang, man, I thought the Bible say we was only born 6,000 years ago.
Yeah, me too, right? Yeah, so we've been doing this, man. Our people been on this. The Lubombo bone, the Ashango bone. Everybody knows about this bone. But I want to briefly talk about the secrets of the Ashango bones. That's right. I just said Ashango bones. Because we usually only hear about one Ashango bone. But I'm about to show you a paper. This guy says, no, there were two Ashango bones. And when you put them side by side, they form a double helix. I said, whoa, wait, hold up. Wait, what? Yes, he says when you put them side by side, they form a double helix. And remember, the Ashango bone was founded what? 22,000, it said? 22,000 BC? Where's it at? Here it is. The secrets of the Ashango bone on the helix structure of prime numbers. A mathematical essay. All right. So this is him right here, Christoph Born. So this is a paper, you guys can look it up. I'm just going through it. Here, he's showing you that Ashango bone and the prime numbers. And he said there were found two. One was 10 centimeters and the other one was 14 centimeters. But we always only see one. So, he goes into a couple of the history of numbers, prime numbers and stuff like that. But then he brings it back and connected the double helix in the Ashango bone of both of the bones. So it's an interesting. I thought it was when I first read, I was like, okay. I was kind of like, it's possible. Anything's possible. We don't want to say nothing is possible, but that'll be deep. Think about it. 22,000 years ago, they was already on that. And somebody say, yo, that can't be true. How would they know that? How would you connect that? I'll explain that later. But yeah, they was already on that level. I don't know why. Put it full screen. The Awadi Gawari Dam. All right. They use dams. They would build dams in Kemet when they built the pyramids. to move the stones down the river. So they would dam part of the river so they could, move the stones. Gotta show you this paper. That's where I got this from. This one here, notes on the Sadal el Kafari ancient dam in the Wadi Garari. So this is a paper that I found, and it's just basically talking about the dam. And when they built it in the Old Kingdom, the dam dates back to the Old Kingdom. We say that in the Old Kingdom, it dates back to the Old Kingdom, where they found the structure, and they talk about the structure. When they built the dam, it failed. It didn't stay up. I don't think it was meant to be stayed up, but this is that paper, and he says the dam was 108 meters long at the top and about 80 at the base. Okay, so you guys can check out this paper. It's pretty interesting, pretty good. So yeah, that's the dams. And to build a dam is not guesswork. That's calculus, fam. That's what that is. Because you will have to know the pressure. You got to calculate the pressure at the base of the dam. That is not something you just guess. You like, maybe. No, this is calculus. That's the level of mathematics you will have to know to build a dam. And they were doing that type of level of mathematics back then. Fractals. All over Kemet, the pillars had fractals on them. A fractal is a repeated pattern that goes on forever. And our ancestors knew that. And they represented it in the columns, showing you fractals, the repeated patterns. Even in some of the structures, it was a fractal structure when you look at it. Dr. Ron English has a book called African Fractals, and he goes through it showing you the fractals that's found in different African cultures around the continent. And right here, this is a Balila settlement. He's showing you the fractal pattern of this settlement in Africa. He don't say what what location actually. And here's another one. This is from Mali on the left side of the screen. It's an aerial view of the neighborhood that they live in. And you look, that's the fractal pattern that it makes. And on the right is a computer generated pattern that the Europeans used to make fractals. So we didn't have to use a computer. It was in our brain. We generated the patterns ourselves naturally because we saw them in nature, and then we could generate the patterns. White people can't do that shit. Now, if you've seen the Dr. Maya documentary she did math, she talked about this. Let's bring this up briefly. When they was moving the stones, those large structures, you see they was pouring a liquid onto the sand to help move the stones. Okay, now that's not guesswork. Again, you have to figure that out. Work you're going to figure out. And when you put a stone, you got to figure out the kinetic friction, static friction. You got to figure all that out. And I remember, like when I first took physics, this was the first thing that hit my mind. I was like, oh man, this is what they had to know. To figure out to move those stones, you have to know this. It's not guessing. You got to know how much force you're going to need to push and what's going to be the coefficient of the static friction. This is stuff that you will have to know. It's not guesswork. They calculated this to build the pyramids. This is the bent pyramid. I'm saying it's not bent. People say, yo, it's bent. I'm like, but they made a mistake, and one of the structure, they said it failed or something, or cracked or whatever. But that don't make sense because it's still been standing for 4,000 years. I'm saying that they purposely built this pyramid because it's a pentagon. That's what they built. Look how many sides there are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They built a pentagon. All right. It was on purpose. It was not a mistake. There are so many mathematical identities and say constants and within the pyramids, especially the Great Pyramid, that you cannot say it's a coincidence, which is what our enemies always like to say. That's just a coincidence.
Preach.
We don't know if they actually knew. What the hell? It's like saying we don't know if we don't know if the Ford brothers actually built the T model car. We don't know. They didn't have no papers enough. We just say we don't know, even though they got the car in the picture. They standing next to the car, but we don't know. We don't have any actually. We don't think they actually thought about building it. They just happened to build it. Shit. But yeah, there are so many constants. We got phi. You have pi, and yes, they did have the exact measurement for pi. Now, stop letting white people say that shit that they did not have an exact measurement, because that is a lie. If you use their measurements, you have to use the kinetic measurements, and it will come out to be exactly 3.141. So again, you have to stop accepting their lies. They had they had the square root of 2, square root of 5, square root of 6. They have Euler's constant is encoded into the pyramid. All right. So there's too much to say, it's a coincidence. They didn't know, or we didn't, there's no proof. They always say there's no proof. And they say that, there was no written proof like that. But you're looking at physical proof. I said proof. We're looking at physical proof. And I'll tell you, in my class of math, the history of mathematics, the professor was Greek. And we was cool, and he's like, wow, your name's Hercules for real? I said, yes, sir. And we talked, but during the class, I made up my mind before the class started. It's like, I'm not going to be, that pro-black radical this time. I'm chilling. It's like I didn't feel like it, so I ain't gonna do that. I ain't doing that this class, man. But it was getting to me. And so I had to bring up the fact. I said, sir, why are we giving Pythagoras the name for finding a squared plus b squared equals c squared when we could see the pyramids are perfect right angles? So I don't understand why they always giving it to Pythagoras. And you know what he told me? He said the reason that we give it to Pythagoras is because there is no written record of a proof in ancient Egypt when Pythagoras wrote it down.
See how racist it sound?
Yes, that's that argument.
I'm gonna take your land, and just because I write a fake goddamn bill of sale, this my land.
This mine, yup. That's the argument. I was like, really? That's the argument?
That trademark copyright bullshit.
I was like, sir, you physically got the proof right here. He was like, there is no written, proof. I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, okay, sir. Okay. But that's the argument, and that's what they stand on. That's what they stand on, even though we're looking at the physical proof. And in fact, inside of a book, one of the books I have, I'm about to show y'all, mathematics during the time of the pharaohs by Richard Gillings, he says in there that just because you didn't find any written proof, elegant proof, but you find physical proof and you find problems worked out by using that theorem, that is not a fact or an excuse to say that ancient Egyptians did not know so and so or such and such. And I was like, yes. I was like, that's exactly what they need to understand. But of course they understand that, but they like to steal shit. So here again, this is just another angles and measurements for the Great Pyramid, where you got the Queen's Chamber, the King's Chamber, and we see this. They did work. It was not guesswork. They were calculating and doing a lot of advanced math long before white people came up with it. The pyramids, it sits at the speed of light. The longitude and latitude, the location of the Great Pyramid is the speed of light. It's the speed of light, 299.94.7 or something like that. If you look up the longitude and latitude of the Great Pyramid and look up the speed of light, they equal. This is not a guess. They didn't just throw a dart, throw a rock and say, yo, right there. We're just going to build a pyramid right there, champ. No, they calculated that. All right. So now, excuse me. Now I want to take a deeper look into Black science. Okay. And to take this step, I'm asking y'all to try to let go of your Eurocentric point of views, because we've been educated in the West. We have a Western education and a Western point of view. But to understand our ancestors, we have to come from an African point of view. Okay? Because if you only look at history and look at the world the way the Europeans did or do, you would only come to the conclusion that, that was in the past, that was old, long ago, and, don't want to go back. Because for white people, the idea of progress, this out there, things must get better over time. Things get better over time. That's a Eurocentric understanding of progress. For them, progress is, you making this, you going upward, upward, upward. That's not an African point of view. That's not a Black point of view. Time for Black people, time did not move linear. Time moved in circles. That's how they view time. So if you're only going to view time linear, you would think applying African thoughts and philosophies is going backwards. We're not moving forward. And now we live in a world where everything is better than was in the past. So I'm asking, so to go forward to the next section, you have to understand that you have to let go of your Eurocentric ideologies. African philosophy of science. Sorry. Two good books, two nice deep brothers that I recommend. One of the brothers, Mbong, lives in, I believe, Cameroon, on the west coast of Africa, and the other brother, Dr. Zulu, is in South Africa. But these are two books on the philosophy of science, and I got these books because I was always reading, books and listening to, white people. Like I showed y'all earlier, Sabina Hosfeld. I got her books. I'll be reading them joints. I was following her on YouTube and all that. But then I was like, why? Why am I listening to white people? Why am I following them? what do black people say about science? What do black people have to say? And so, I searched and I found these two books, these two brothers, and they had a lot to say. All right. Dr. Zulu, from his book, The Secret Knowledge of the Desert. Since the Africans traced their genesis to the cosmos, such a cosmic experience requires numerical knowledge. You must be able to locate and be located in space and be able to think in terms of 3 or more dimensions. All right. You have to be able to think in 3 dimensions when you're out in space to describe your location. That's the XYZ plane. You have to give your precise location. You're not thinking, on 2 dimensions. You're thinking 3 dimensions or 4 dimensions. They were thinking on this level because it was embedded in their culture. Cosmic knowledge, from his book. He explains, this knowledge comes from their genesis of the cosmos. The cosmic knowledge is a transcendental knowledge that transcends the senses and the mind. It is a pure form of knowledge that traces space traces the space-time domain. As previously mentioned, it is cosmic knowledge that has shaped their mathematical knowledge as confirmed in their architectural tradition, where the use of nonlinear geometry, like the circle, is part of the design, goal, and construction, and to construct a build environment that is aligned with the stellar universe. So there for us, knowledge starts from the cosmos. Then it's empirical to theoretical, or theoretical to empirical. That's how it starts. In Western culture, no. Knowledge starts rational, then empirical to theoretical. Theoretical to empirical. That's how it starts in Western culture. But Black people traces our genesis back to the cosmos, back to the universe. That's what our ancestors say we come from. We come from the universe. From Mbong, he says, modern science is in line with sacred science of the ancient Africans of the Nile Valley, whose main approach was based on the development of speculative physical principles, which later became philosophical and religious codes of life. Amun, Atum Ra, etc., etc. Understand what he just said. The sacred science of our ancestors was built on physical principles that they found in nature and in the universe. And then later they did what? They built a religion or a spirituality based on those principles. This is why our ancestors, the more advanced they got, when they built those pyramids, they were still spiritual people. They did not become less spiritual. Because our spirituality is based in reality. It's not based on a revelation. It's not based on, some secret being revealed by one person. It's based on actual reality. Ra. If Ra dies, we all die. That's just facts. Who is Ra? The sun. If the sun dies, we all die. That's it. So it's based on reality. Dr. Asa Hilliard, I remember when he was on For the People doing an interview. Some of y'all might have seen it. Remember that? He said, our ancestors spent years studying nature and then built a spirituality based on nature, what they saw in nature. And that stuck with me. And I was like, damn, that's deep. That's what their spirituality is based on. And all African spiritualities are based on nature. We are part of the universe. That's how ancestors saw ourselves. This is just a meme I created when somebody's posted pictures of their waves and stuff, and I was like, yo, wait, what? That looked just like the galaxy. So you see, we are one. We are one. We can be one if we want to be. We come from the universe. We are one with the universe, and that was the goals of the ancestors, to become one with the universe, live in harmony with the universe. That's not the goals of our enemies. That's not the European goals. They want to destroy the universe. Complex analysis. Hold up. So, complex analysis. So our ancestors, their mathematical knowledge went far beyond what we've been told, and we've always given the impression that they stopped at algebra. Is as far as they went. Not true. Not true at all. And our ancestors knew what we call today complex analysis. Okay, and complex analysis deal with numbers that's in the complex plane. They, as you can see, I put this up here because they try to take it back to Diophantus, 275 AD, and say he was the one who came up with the idea, can find a reasonable solution to this problem. He was the one who did that, But as we know, all the Greeks who were mathematicians and philosophers, they went where to study? They went to Egypt to study. So complex analysis deals with, like I said, numbers in the complex plane. You're looking for a solution to this one right here, like x squared equals -1, and you square both sides to get the square root of -1. X equals -1. Complex numbers, they map from the real plane to the imaginary plane, and that's what this slide here is talking about. It's showing you how you can map numbers from the real line to the imaginary line. And as you see, the funny thing is that when you map complex numbers to the imaginary line, you can't map them in 3D. Okay, you can't graph it in 3D. So that's what this is talking about here. As you know, we are in the third dimension, is where we live. But when you try to graph complex numbers into 3D, it does not work. It cancels out. In fact, when you graph numbers, complex numbers, they make a spiral upward. Think about, if you're in front of your desk, they make a spiral up from the desk. That's how when you graph them, and that's the imaginary line. Your X and Y line would be on the desk, and the imaginary line is coming up from the desk. And that you graph it, it makes a spiral going up, and you can only graph complex numbers to the fourth dimension and above. So we know the fourth dimension is the spiritual world. Our ancestors had an understanding of this. As Marshall Clark said earlier, a quote I said earlier, I showed y'all, there was no natural physics that was separated from the spirituality. So being a math person, being a mathematician in those times, you would have been raised in the spiritual, you have been going to the rituals, you've been pouring libation, you would understand that there's a spiritual world. And one day you would probably thought, how do I represent this mathematically? Now I can actually show this, I can show a proof of this, but this is a paper that I'm working on right now. I should be finished with it. Hopefully I should be finished with it by the summertime. And I don't want people to steal your ideas, so I could prove it, actually really physically prove it, because it's sitting right there on the pyramid's wall. It's still sitting there today. The proof that they knew complex numbers, or what we call imaginary numbers. So that's a paper that I'm working on, and when I finish writing it, I'll come back and I'll show y'all because you could really actually prove it um, physically. Architecture may have a strong symbolic function, and in theory, it is possible to suggest that in their buildings, ancient Egyptian architect had meaningful mathematical relationships, not immediately perceivable and related to an esoteric knowledge. This is from Karina Rossi from her book Architecture and Mathematics in Ancient Egypt. um, yeah, symbolic. They left symbolic symbols around Kemet, and they left meanings behind their architect. And not everybody is going to know what it is because you had to be initiated. Not everybody could go to school back then. You just couldn't walk into the library and just read books or read the scrolls. You had to have permission. You had to be initiated on a certain level to learn certain things. That was the life that they live in. That was the world that they live in. That's not our world today, where you can just go online and learn anything you want. I know we see that as a good thing. You just man, you can learn anything. You go online, just learn anything. Yeah, you learn how to kill people, how to make bombs, poisons, and all that. That's why they didn't do that. Just freely give information to anyone, because you have people like Einstein. Like I don't know, Fauci. They come up with stupid things to kill people. But that's because everything is open. So hidden meanings. So we all know the Eye of Horus, and to the layperson, this is just the Eye of Horus. That's all. That's it. We know it represents Horus, but to the person who may be the priest, one of the temples, they understood that this also represents the brain. It represents a segment of the part of the brain, and we find that the Eye of Horus is related to the inner part of the brain. That's is one of the meanings behind that. And for the math person, it would be, you see that it's not just a part of the brain or the higher Horus. This is we look at it like, this is a geometric series. It's a geometric sequence. We look at it like, wow, okay, that's what it represents, a geometric sequence. And for you guys who took financial mathematics, remember geometric series sequences. You find the annual rate, the increase and stuff. So yeah, that's what that is. That's what that represents from a math point of view. I should have put the Ankh up here. I don't think I put the Ankh. No, I didn't put the Ankh up here because this is just something I was thinking about. My findings, looking at the Ankh. The Ankh is it represents the life. The tree of life, gives life. But from a math point of view, I would say, the Ankh represents a point at infinity. And you can show that because when you look at it, it's not a circle. It actually is a parabola. And you're looking at the parabola going out to a point at infinity. So that was something I was thinking about when I have a book called Elliptic Curves and Rational Points, Rational Points of Elliptic Curves, and I was going through it. You see, as he was graphing it, the Ankh shows up in the graph. It's like, oh goddamn, that's the Ankh. But anyway, this is something that I was just thinking about. The mathematics that our ancestors went far beyond what they was telling us. Now look, what are we looking at here? This is what kind of set me on this path, going down, just looking at stuff, and like, man, what do they know? We're looking at an aerial view of Stonehenge, and on the right is the hydrogen atom. Stonehenge is a representation of the hydrogen atom. Why am I bringing up Stonehenge? Stonehenge is in Europe. It's not in ancient Egypt. What the hell? Funny, because I came across a paper I'm about to show you guys, written by a Russian mathematician. And he says Stonehenge was built by the ancient Egyptians. And he said it is a symbolic representation of a differential equation, of a partial differential equation, and it represents the hydrogen atom. Not only does it represent the hydrogen atom, it calculates the weight of the hydrogen atom. This paper right here. All right. This Russian mathematician right here. Check this paper out. All right. Go down and the area view, Stonehenge. And this is the partial differential equation. He's saying that it represents, and he works it out in here and showing you, going through it. It's a Laplacian, showing you the Laplacian of this partial equation. And he calculates it. Let's see. Right here, he starts to give the values to what he finds, and it spits out the atomic number, the hydrogen, the atomic number of hydrogen. And he's saying this is the equation right here for the atomic number of hydrogen, which you get from Stonehenge. The symbols on there, these is from Kemet. He's saying the Ankh right here. And he's right here. He's saying this is laid out in the pattern purposefully in this pattern from Stonehenge, and this looks like what? From the scribe. Letting you know, the scribes of Kemet, ancient Egypt. This is what they wore to let you know that they was a scribe. And they said it's purposefully. They purposely laid this out on Stonehenge, this exact pattern. So yeah, this is another good paper, another math paper that I found. So you check this one out, and he's showing you that back then, 4,000 years ago, they already were studying partial differential equations, where the Europeans claim they come up with partial differential equations in the 1800s. But he's going and saying, nah, look. Stonehenge was built by people who came from ancient Egypt. And the funny thing is, because when I I started looking into it, I did come across a couple of people and a couple of articles saying that the people who built Stonehenge was not from the region. They came up there, built Stonehenge, and left. They wasn't from that region at all. Wait, hold up. I gotta get my plug. All right. Put back. One second. So yeah, that's a good math paper that I just happened to find one day online in. Sorry about that. And that's kind of set me down a path of looking and seeing what else was there to learn that the ancestors knew from. After reading that paper, it's like, oh damn, they knew partial differential equations. And that kind of just blew my mind. Partial differential equations is a high math class. You take that after you finish calculus 1, 2, and 3. Then you could take partial differential equations. No, I mean you take differential equations, then partial differential equations. But yeah, I was like, damn, that's wow. I was just stunned. And so I just started looking, for more of what else I could find that the ancestors knew. Why is this thing not going down? The spiral. the sparrow. All African myths of human origins start either from an egg, a sparrow, or a vacuum that undergoes vibration due to cosmic energies. All African myths. And another good philosophy book is by Dr. Camus. Was it Camus? I believe so. Brother Camus, Person, Divinity, and Nature. And he goes through showing you across from east to west the different spiritual beliefs of the different African societies over there. And yes, they all do start from an egg or a spiral or some type of vacuum. They all start like that. Okay. And now from Dr. Zulu, Basotho science, Western theory of matter is particle based. The Basothos, together with other Africans, believe that matter is fluid based. This means that matter is wave based and have wave properties. This entails that the Basotho regard any material in the universe as fluid based and subject to laws of fluid dynamics. Now, remember, in Western culture, they didn't think about particles and atoms moving in waves until quantum physics came along, and they found that out. In African culture, he is saying that they their language and their culture, their language. He shows that their language, they use fluid concepts in their language when they talk in everyday stuff, and that's like that already puts in your mind of a fluid dynamics. That's already in your mind. I had the quote up, but he was saying like you go to you're at a shelter. You got a shelter, and you say, hey man, they're giving out food, man. They're getting food over there. Go over there, you can get you some food. They're handing out food. But in their language, they would say they are pouring out food. You could go over there, get you some food. They pour some food on your plate. They pour out the trash. They don't throw out the trash. They pour it out. So he just goes through the language and showing you that in their language, the concept of fluid and being a fluid state is already there. So it's not a hard leap to understand that particles move in waves. All right, and we know that from the ancient Egypt, when they say what the universe started from noon. The creator created himself out of noon. And so Van Sertima book, Egypt Revisited, this is, knowing the creations of Ra. I'm not going to read the whole thing. I just want to read the part where he says, I tied my own hand alone before they were born, before I spat out shoe and coughed up tough nut. I used my mouth and magic was my name. So even in the from the ancestors, their creation story, he says he did what? He spat out shoe and coughed up tough nut. Moisture, fluid again. He created himself out of noon, the primordial waters. When you think of waters and you think of something coming out of it, it pictures that picture in your mind, is the ripples from the water, the waves. And one thing that quarks, these are quarks. So basically, I think I'm missing a slide. Yeah, I was supposed to. Yeah. Okay, I'm missing a slide. So quarks, basically, wanted to show that they were talking about quarks. When you look up when they say I created, when Amun-Ra created, spoke the universe into existence, he created, the eight gods, bringing in 8 gods, into existence as well. And their counterparts. They was talking about quarks, and I had another slide to show that to show you the representation of it. But yeah, that's what they were talking about on that level. Those beginning elements that started the universe. That's what quarks are. Sound waves. You can see all over Kemet paintings of people playing, harps and violins and string instruments. That's sound waves. People always talk to me when I talk to some people. They always mention to me, "Oh yeah, music is mathematics. There's a lot of math, in the music, behind music. So we all know that there's mathematics behind music. Are we supposed to believe that our ancestors never sat and thought that? What math can I, where's this? How do I represent this sound mathematically? Sound waves, dealing with waves. We just did a paper, just showed you the paper from the Russian mathematician saying that they had understanding of partial differential equations. So now we're dealing with waves. That's vibration, the vibration of a string. This is the graph for vibration of a string. And it's showing you, the pitch, the lift, the angles for the vibration of a string. This is a partial differential equation. And again, from Marshall Klager's book, Ancient Egypt Science, Volume 3, they found this on the wall in Saqqara, Third Dynasty. They say that this is an ellipse. It's a part of an ellipse. That's what they try to say it is. I'm saying it's not. You're looking at a wave function. All right. And they try to say the rest of it was broken off of, they can't find of it. So they think that it's just a partial of it. I'm saying it's not. Looking at a wave function. All right. And this is wave functions. Wave functions are partial differential equations. All right. When you're talking about waves, to describe a wave, you would have to be able to have a function that describes the distance and time. That's what a partial differential equation is. It describes distance and time and space. That's what it is. So from understanding that the Creator came out of noon, the primordial waters, you're already thinking of time and space. And you want to function, you want to be able to represent that. How do I, show that? How do I represent that? That's what partial differential equations do. And potential flow comes out of partial differential equations. I wanted to show this because they found an airplane or a model airplane by the base of the Great Pyramid. So where's this coming from? Great Pyramid. 4,000 years ago. It was a model airplane. Now you just think on just, whittle that together, just trying it. No, they calculated. They had to figure out the flow over the wings, how the wind is going to flow over the wings. Look at the angle of the wing to the body. They were working on this long before white people did. But if you don't know that, if you only listen to white people, listen to our enemies, we would never know this. Jeweled Pyramid. It's from Richard Gilling's book, Mathematics in the Time of the Pharaohs. What does that look like to y'all? The Jeweled Pyramid. Remember the Avengers? This is from, so in his book, Gillings is saying that in one of the papyrus, I should have wrote the name down. I forgot the name of the papyrus. The Ryman papyrus or Rian papyrus, I don't know. I forgot. But in one of the papyrus, it's described. It says take the pyramid and invert it on itself, and this is what you post. This is what you get: a cube that's inverted pyramid, and you look at the points, and what does that remind you of? A tesseract. All right, a fourth dimensional cube. So again, they were already thinking in fourth dimensions because they were already connected, working with the ancestors, you know, pouring that libation, you know, doing possessions. They was already connected with the fourth dimension, the spiritual world. So they showing you a representation. How do you represent that fourth dimension? And they showing you even, you know, other ways to contact and get in contact with the fourth dimension. Fifth dimensional cube. What that joint look like to y'all? Fifth dimensional cube. An aerial view of the step pyramid. Fifth dimensional cube. I'm just saying, this is that stuff that I just stuff that I would look at and I'm like, wait a minute. Now, you can say that, man, nah, they wasn't thinking that. You know, that wasn't the plan. I mean, seriously, it wasn't? Look at it. They could have built it like a regular pyramid. Come on. It's a representation. It's letting us know, they leaving evidence to let us know, hey, this is what we know. This is knowledge that we own, man. Particle in a box. Particle in a box. Now, this is dealing with Schrodinger's equation for a particle in a box, and basically, this is a quantum physics, the beginning part of the quantum physics. Basically, you are looking to say where the particle is located at in the box at any point in time, and the particle has to be between the points C0 and L on the right side of the screen. The particle has to be between those points, and it can't go past 0 or L. It's not going to go higher than the walls of the box. Okay, and so you use Schrodinger's time-independent equation to find out the energy of a particle in a box. That's what the Schrodinger equation is used for. And so the first one, so this one I showed you, this one right here is for a one-dimensional box, for doing it in one dimension. Just doing it on paper, one dimension, you're just working it. But in 3 dimensions, you would work this, it would look like this. And you usually start with the one dimension one because it's easier to, work out the equation, to break it down. We got to normalize the equation and stuff like that. It's easier to do than when you're working with the 3-dimensional box. So it's a 3-dimensional box. And so, yeah, it's the same thing. You're figuring out, you use the Schrodinger equation to figure out where's this particle located at any point in this box. Any point. It can't go past the walls. It can't go outside of the box. It has to be any point. So you use the equation to say, oh, the particle is located here. The energy level is here. The energy level is up here. The energy level is down here. That's what you would use that for. And again, waves. We're dealing with particles, energy. They moving in waves. And partial differential equations is to locate a function in space and time. So where am I going with this? I know y'all like, wait, hold up. Particle in a box, Schrodinger equation. Why would they? So remember earlier, talked about the DNA. They had an understanding of the DNA helix. King's chamber. The King's chamber in the Great Pyramid is a particle in the box. Think about it. It was never there was never a body found in it. It was empty. So why the hell did they put a sarcophagus in that room, an empty sarcophagus? For what? What was the purpose? It's just sitting there. And I'm telling you that they did that on purpose to explain to us a particle in a box. Now, the picture on the right, some of you might recognize, that's from Stargate SG-1, one of my favorite TV shows of all time. I'm not going to even lie. I love watching that joint, all 10 seasons, plus the spin-offs I watched and the movies. I was a big fan of Stargate, yo. I was a big fan. And if you remember from Stargate, for those who did watch it, the enemies were who? Ancient Egyptians. White people don't fail to let you know who their fucking enemies are. They are never confused about who their enemies are. They always let us know. So yeah, the ancient Egyptians were the enemies that they had to fight. In fact, after they defeated the ancient Egyptians, the next powerful enemy, of course, they had the robots they had to fight, but then that was brief. That didn't even last long. But then they had a more powerful enemy that they had to fight called the Ori. The Ori, and if those y'all who study African culture, you know Ori from the Yoruba. Ori means what? The head, your brain. It comes from out of Ifa when they talk about your Ori. So they and plus the enemy, their symbol was an Ankh. So white people, they always let us know who they understand who their enemy are, and they always use black culture as their enemy in movies. But anyway, from Stargate, yeah, the sarcophagus that the Egyptians that you see them standing next to is they use these aliens. The Egyptians, they were aliens, and they would sleep in a sarcophagus, and it would help extend their life. So they would live to be 200 and 300 years old. This is on a show. Now, back to the King's Chamber. The King's Chamber is made out of granite. The room is granite. Now, remember, the whole pyramid is limestone. Now, I've never been to Egypt yet, and I want to go. I got to check it out. Everybody who's been has told me, you got to go. And the funny thing is, everybody said when you go inside, sound moves 3 times faster than it does on the outside. I think it's 3 times or 2 times, twice as fast or something like that. The speed of sound, my sensei told me, because he went and he told me, he said I was standing at the entrance and I heard the friends at my party, they were talking, and I thought they were standing, just a couple of feet in front of me. No, they was on the other side of the pyramid, and he heard them talking. So they had an understanding of how sound travels and how fast it travels. That's why they made that room, the King's Chamber, out of granite, to show us, hey, through this medium, sound travels faster. And inside of the king's sarcophagus, the particles, the waves, sound waves, they resonate at 117 hertz. 117 hertz is the sound that your DNA resonate at. And if you want to heal your DNA, you will resonate sound at 117 hertz. Now, you're telling me that they didn't have an understanding of partial differential equations, you're smoking crack. That's what this represents. A particle in a box. I don't even know. Maybe Schrodinger got that idea from them, or somebody got the idea from them, and I don't know. But they was already on that. They had an understanding of that, and that's why they left the King's Chamber there for us to have an understanding as well, so we could be on that level as well, so we can learn. But we're not learning, fam. It's too many. What did Anthony Browder say? He said he was the only African person, let alone Black American, over there doing archaeology work. The only one. Everybody else, he said there were 200 and I think he said 216, applications filed. Well, this was like what 2 or 3 years ago when I was listening to him do an interview. 216 applications filed to do archaeology work, and he was the only Black one. Now, why the fuck are everybody in the world, China, Japan, Korea, Mexico, Brazil, Italy, everybody in the world are over there digging in our ancestral homeland, doing the research? They getting their ideas from advanced technology, advanced mathematics from our ancestors. Straight up. I was told when I was a kid, my dad told me when I was a kid that the pyramids go underneath, deep. And I was like, yeah, I brushed it off. I was like, yeah, okay, Dad. Like, yeah, oh yeah, all right, Dad. But now what they came out with, they said, well, look underneath the pyramid. Everybody's over there doing the research, and we're not in on it. All right, so I'm about to wrap this up. If we continue to only listen to those that our ancestors had labeled as enemies of Black people, then we will continue to suffer at the hands of Western culture. It is past time to implement Sankofa. It is way past time for us to start. We need to start implementing Sankofa. We have to get back to what our ancestors was doing. We don't need artificial intelligence. Not to say that you shouldn't learn it. Of course you gotta learn. You gotta learn how to fight back. You gotta remember, artificial life, artificial comes from Plato, where he was saying the perfect world, is only in your mind. A perfect, this real world is not a good world. They want artificial intelligence. We have to get back to our ancestral intelligence. Okay? And I'm telling you, fam, we have to start teaching our children, teaching our grandchildren, your little cousins, your little nieces and nephews. We have to teach them this stuff, their history. We have to get our next generations into studying and practicing African philosophy and languages, African spirituality. Because once we do that, we're going to leapfrog over everybody else. We're going to leapfrog over the Chinese. The Chinese is killing the world, man, in science. They killing the world, man. But once we tap back into the ancestral intelligence, we would take the lead. I told you, they cannot do what we do. I remember when my daughter was like 6, I think, or about 6, 7 or something in school, and the white kid, laughed at her and called her a monkey. He said, "Ha, you dumb, all Black people come from Africa. Y'all dumb like monkeys." And she came home and she was like, she was upset because she couldn't understand me. What the hell? And so I said to her, I explained to her, the ignorance of white people. But then I said, people say something like that. You say, yeah, we done. Because all my ancestors ever did was just put block on top of block on top of block on top of block. And this shit's still standing there for 4,000 years. That's all they ever did. White people, they can't build a fucking doghouse to stand 100 years without refurbishing it. All they did was put blocks on top of blocks, no screws, no nails, no cement. Think about that. Think about that. We you know what I'm saying, we so proud, you know what I'm saying? Man, we got electricity, man. We got electric cars, man. You know what I'm saying? Look at the cell phones. Look at this technology, man. What are you talking about? Talk about going back. The hell? They probably hitting you up, Sway, like, yo, Sway, what this nigga smoking, man? But yo, that's all the ancestors did. They just put blocks on top of blocks. That level of knowledge, that level of science, we have not achieved yet. And I'm telling you, once we tap back into that ancestral knowledge, we're going to leapfrog. We're going to go to the top. We're following white people to death. That's what Amos Wilson said. I'm an Amos Wilsonist. You know, my dad was, told me he's a Marcus Garvey's. Had an uncle that's, Malcolm X. You got people, you grow up, you're going to have your people who have that ideology that you like, that you click. And it was Amos Wilson for me. It was like my first year in college. I finally got an Amos Wilson book, Black on Black Violence. I read that. It's just like, and I was already woke, but after reading that joint, my mind just like blew, like, damn. So yeah, Amos Wilson said we are following a people who are obsessed with death. Everything they do leads towards destruction and death. If you think about it, that's what they do. That's everything today. There's the negative side effects of pollution is not equaling out the benefits. They're obsessed with death. And we're just following them, doing what they do. And I'm saying we don't have to do that. We have to get back to that ancestral intelligence, that Africanness, that African-centeredness. That's what we got to get back to. We got to center ourselves, being Black people. All right, before I go, we're going to end this. I'm going to just do a quick mathematical analysis. All right. This is the formation of a path. This is in any complex analysis book, you'll find this. It's called the formation of a path. It's called Cauchy's integral formula. Okay. And so it says if f of z is analytic in a simple connected domain D, then the integral of f is independent of path provided that path what? This is the path independent of path provided that the paths are all contained in D. If the endpoints of a path C are fixed, and if we can continuously deform C to another path, C prime, with the same endpoints, then the integral of C, f of z, dz equals the integral of C prime, f of z, dz. As long as all intermediate paths between C and C prime contain only points where f of z is analytic. All right. D f of z is analytic. D. We don't need that. Don't need to read that part. It's this is just going to repeat. It's just kind of repeating. So the part f is the integral of f of c dz equals the integral of the integral of c prime f of z dz. As long as all intermediate paths between C and C prime contain only points where f of z is analytic. So to show you, let me show you. Here. All right, move this over here. So, what was it? Deformation of a path. So, like I said, it's the formation of a path, the formation of a contour. You will see the name of it, or Cauchy's integral formula is what you'll see a lot. So it's Cauchy C-A-U, Coachy. My handwriting is atrocious on this joint. Trying to, what are you doing? Move over. Damn. Coachy's integral. Man, my handwriting is atrocious. Formula. All right. So it says F of Z has to be analytic. Okay. So what the integral formula looks like, I'm just show you what it looks like. I'm not going to like go through it or try to derive it because that will be too much. And don't know everybody's math level. Don't want to try and put people off. Just to show you what the formula look like. Minus A, this is dz, right? dz. This is what the formula look like. This formula equals, so this equals, this will equal 2 pi I f of A, okay? And this is what Cauchy's integral formula looked like. And so what they were saying, let me draw a graph here. No. It's a little crooked. Hold up. Try to make it straight. Okay. See if I can. Straight up. It's crooked. All right. And this is the imaginary axis because we remember complex analysis. You're dealing with real and imaginary. So here, this is the imaginary axis. This is the real axis. And so they are saying, let's put point here. This is A. And if you have a path around A, this is C1. And they said, oh, the path around A as well. This is C2. So remember, he said that, if it's analytic everywhere, meaning that if it's differentiable everywhere, then C1 can equal C2. Remember, if it was written as C f of z dz equals the integral of C. Oh, it says C prime. I put C2. Okay, I'll just keep it. It says C prime, remember? So, but I'm going to have C2. Matter of fact, I'm going to change the letters because F of Z, D, Z. All right. So it says these two will be equal. And, if the path around this F of C will equal, if analytic error, this F of C, you can deform it, you can shrink wrap it. Let me say, you can shrink wrap this C1 down here to C2. It can shrink wrap. That's what it's saying. Okay. Let me do this again. Let me see. Let me do this again. So let's do it again. And I'm going to use different letters, try to explain it better. So let's use different letters. Hold up. We'll make the domain. Okay. Here, let's say, we'll make this big enough for, make sure y'all see this. So this is over here. So this is going to be our domain. Up. This is big space. All right, that's the domain. And so it's the plane, okay? The domain, and the domain is, say, omega. I hated when I was taking real analysis, taking stuff like, topology and stuff. I hate it when they use the same letters when they're explaining something. You know, where they said C prime, C equals C prime. Instead of just saying C is going to equal B, you know, they would use the same letters, and I thought that always annoyed me because it could be confusing. So let's say you have a triangle. This is going to be a triangle right here. All right, and this is let's say the point. This point, remember, this point we're going to say is epsilon. Okay, and around epsilon you have this contour. Okay, so this contour is let's let the contour be beta. A contour is beta. So it said as long as everything is analytic, meaning differentiable within here, all right, on this contour, then beta can shrink wrap around epsilon. So this contour will shrink wrap, meaning it will go around and it will become epsilon. Okay, you can shrink wrap this contour here, beta, to epsilon. That's what this is saying. Here it will become it would no longer be, you know, a curve, this closed path. It would become a triangle. Okay, that's what it's saying. All right. So long as there are no singularities within here, it has to be differentiable everywhere. There can't be any singularities. Then, yeah, beta can shrink wrap and become a triangle around this point epsilon. So where am I going with this? I said that we have to, you know, we got to get back, you know, to being that African-centered thought. Get back to the ways of our ancestors. But, you know, a lot of people today say, you know, that African-centeredness, you know, all that, you know, that's some bullshit. That, you know, that shit don't work. You know, Pan-Africanism is dead. And I thought about this because I was listening to Baba Baruti, and he was giving a speech on how we have become them. And he was explaining how, you know, our morals, our ethics, our values have become the same, just like white Americans. We act like them. We behave like them. And I was like, holy shit, that sounds like the formation of a contour. So mathematically, what he's saying is that the domain that we live in is what? Western culture. This contour is what? Black people. Epsilon is, y'all know where I'm going with this, Europeans. And so what this culture integral formula is saying, that as long as there are no similarities, Black people can deform and become like Europeans in the domain of Western culture. Carter G. Woodson said this 90 years ago in his book, Miseducation of the Negro. Amos Wilson said this 60 years after that in his book, The Falsification of the African Consciousness. Naim Akbar has said this. Wade Nobles have said this, but yet we refuse to listen. So mathematically, it's true. We have become them. Over the centuries, we behaved like them. We adopted their values. It was funny because last summer, me and my grandma was talking about that because one of my cousins, she has a dog, and she takes it everywhere with her and shit. And my grandma was laughing like, man, back in the day, we didn't have no damn dog in the house. We didn't sleep with no damn dog in your bed. We didn't do that shit. That's shit that white people did. And I was just laughing. I said, oh wow, that's right. Because we had, me and my dad, we had dogs growing up, but our dogs were never allowed in the house. And then when I went to Africa, when I went to Ghana, animals, dogs, they are not allowed in the house. They don't bring animals in the house. That is not a black thing. That's a white thing. So as the form said, as long as there aren't any singularities, all right. Because if you had singularities, if right here is a singularity, this is a singularity. Singularity here. Okay, here we have a singularity here. If you have singularities here, that ancestral intelligence right here, then you can't deform. All right, you got that African centered thought. Then this contour, the black contour, cannot deform into the Europeans. We will remain a Malcolm X, a Amos Wilson, John Henry Clark, Fannie Lou Hamer, Francis Cress Welsing.
And I don't even think people understand, man. This is powerful, man. I hope everybody got their pen and paper.
This is a simple one. I'm doing the simplest one because I got a handful of them to do work to show the work behind everything that our elders have been saying. There's a mathematical proof that stands it up. So when you people, a lot of you brothers and sisters, y'all want to be FBAs and we was foundational, we've been here, all this stuff, we ain't got to be connected to no Africa. No, you're wrong. You're completely wrong. And that is what this is saying. That's what the Culture Integral formula is saying. You guys are wrong. You don't have anything to stand on. We have to have something to stop us from becoming like them. And it has African-centered education, ancestral knowledge. That's going to stop us from becoming like them. So I just wanted to show that and talk about that again. Stuff that I look at and I read and I sit back, I'm doing the math and I thought about it. I should write a book called Sankofa, the mathematical applications to Black liberation, because mostly everything we talk about white supremacy, white supremacy, as a system, and the elders talk about that. Marimba Ani, Wade Nobles, Amos Wilson talk about white supremacy as a system, and if it's a system, that means it has mathematics behind it. All right, because all systems have mathematics behind it. And there is a formula that supports, the mathematics of white supremacy. And it shows you, how we become them. I could go through it and stuff, but so we have to get back to the ancestral intelligence. I truly believe that we come back to that and we're going to leapfrog over everybody else. All right. Because our ancestors already had a deep understanding of the universe and how things work in the universe. And they showed it in their art and in their, they left it on the walls of their understanding of the creation stories and stuff, their spirituality. They was showing it. They was leaving us this knowledge to show us, hey, we have an understanding of this universe and how things work. And this is what it is. And so, but we've been listening, to our enemies and taking their viewpoints and their standpoints, and it doesn't help. It doesn't help us. It hasn't worked for us. It for the past 60, 70 years, we can look back and see that the education for Black people has been terrible. We've been miseducated, and Amos Wilson, he wrote a book, The Falsification of the African Consciousness, and our consciousness has been falsified. So we got to get back to being who we are and stand the ground, for the ancestors and for our peoples. So that's it.
All right. I'm gonna drop this link only for 4 to 5 minutes. Nobody hop on. And it's grand opening, grand closing. I just want to say, by the way, off of Hercules, I appreciate you for being on time. You know what I'm saying? I appreciate you with the presentation. I feel like our people definitely learned something today, especially with that last example. That was grand opening, grand closing. But man, yeah, man, I appreciate you, you know what I'm saying, for even hitting me up. Like, hey, man, I got something I want to show. Because at the end of the day, we definitely learned something today.
Yeah, that's the goal. To share knowledge with our people, so we can move forward. I don't. I like Anthony Browder. He's like I don't mind debating people because he like he said he don't debate people no more. He don't get into arguments no more. Because he's about to work. But since I'm a little younger, I don't mind debating, and I don't debate white people. That's the only thing. I feel like we don't need to be debating white people no more. Our elders already did that. John Henry Clark spanked them. Check into Giop, Theophilo Benga. They already spanked them white people. So it's like, what are we still debating them same topics for? So I talk to other Black people and maybe debate other Black people to try to get them.
Let me ask you this. I got a couple people that's forgot where they didn't came from. So would you debate somebody on were the Egyptians Black? Would you debate somebody on that?
Well, it would be a short debate. It's because it's really.
No. I just wanted a yes or no because I had more questions after that.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I would, because it would be a short debate.
They will be taking the side of the ancient Egyptians was Eurasian. You already know.
Yeah, no, it'll be a short debate because, like I said, the elders have already proved that they were Black. They said that they were Black. And the fact of the matter is that a lot of people keep trying to, like I said, they're following white people. You keep following their methods and approach to this subject. You know what I'm saying? Check into Giop said, look, you want to know Kemetic culture? Look into Africa. That's all you got to do. That's it. Once you look deep into Africa, you will understand the Kemetic culture because they came from the center of Africa and southern Africa. All right. And the funny thing is, people say that they didn't call themselves Black. They was referring to the land. Kemet refers to the Black land. Then you have people, because you got the people say, no, Kemet refers to the Black people. It's not the land. They were saying in terms of Black people. It was both. That's the thing. It was both. Again, we have to get away from the European concept of logic, of this concept of either or, that Kierkegaard concept, either this or that. No, for our ancestors, it was both. We live in the past, present, and future at the same time. That's why I think the African concept of time is circular. It's not linear. And when you go into any African language, almost any African language, and you ask them, hey, what do you call this land? Hey man, what's this land called? In Tree, in Ghana, they say this is Obibi Mine. The land is Obibi Mine, meaning land of the Blacks. In Yoruba, it's Ila Adula Wo, land of the Black people. And the Congo is Nsia Adombe, land of the Black people. Oh, okay. What do you call a person? What is a person? And again, a tree, is a Bibi mean black person. Yoruba, Adulo, black person. In Congo, and Dombe, black person. So there was always this understanding that African people, black people have always had to understand that they connected to the land. They saw themselves and the land as one. They weren't separated from the land. That's a European concept. They was connected to the land, so they see themselves connected. That's why they had sacred lands and sacred rivers, sacred forests and areas and stuff. You know, the Native Americans had the same thing. Europeans don't have that. They don't have anything that's sacred except for greed. Money is sacred to them. But we
And
had sacred.
we had Dr. Reggie on the panel last week, and he said, "Man, we don't have no direct attestation. We don't have no source for the black land being the Kemet. It's the black people. That's what it is. You know what I'm saying? And when Sheikh Anta Diop went to war with them white folks, they was like they conceded and said, okay, you can say Kemet to you.
Yeah, yeah. It's I'm again, I'm not a linguist, so yeah, I haven't really studied. I haven't studied the subject and the language and getting into the translation, nothing like that. I've listened to the people who are the linguists, the black people that's linguists, like Obadale Cambone, Dr. Obadale Cambone, the brother in Ghana right now. He speaks like 5, 6 African languages, and plus, he read and write the Meta Nature. And Theophilo Binga, I listen to them. Those guys are the linguists. They've been doing that work in translations and stuff, and understand how it translates into black land. You'll see it written as black land, and then you'll see it written as black people. But a lot of people doing the work, and it's already been done. The Theophilo Binga's, Black Africa, and check out the Geoff's book, Civilization of Barbarisms, Ivan Van Sertima, Ancient Egypt Revisit. So many books. They explain that yes, these were black people. This is the black land. They saw themselves as being black. Because why? Because the creator is black.
Hey, what's so great about this conversation is we got elders like Asar M. Ka that read the language and that we can get on panel. We got elders like Smash Rockwell and Brother Reggie that read the language and we and arms linked away. You know what I'm saying? So it's more so like we got it ain't like we gotta go to a university and go find somebody. No, these niggas is at a snap of a finger. Oh, that mean what? Okay, yeah. So we got niggas that can read the language that's real close to us now. You know what I'm saying? So we on top of our game when it come to this topic.
Yeah, definitely. We definitely got people into that, and like I said, I watched the conversation between Obadale Cambone, brother Dr. Obadale Cambone, and there's a brother. I think his name is Sar Imhotep. I think that's his name. And they was talking about the language and the language of Kemet, ancient Kemet, and Sar was asking him, how do you know the pronunciations? How do you know it's a correct pronunciation when the language has been dead for 1,000 years? And that's one thing I've always wondered as well. It's like, how the hell y'all know that that's pronounced that way? And like I said, Dr. Cambone, Abate Cambone, is a linguist. He has a PhD in tree. He the brother is a linguist. He's deep with it, and so he explained it to him how they be able to sit a sound. And they say he's comparing it to other African languages and other African sounds and stuff like that, and doing it. And Asar Imhotep kept asking him the question like, but. And me being a layperson who don't understand, linguistic shit, I understood what fucking Cambone was talking about. And
right. It's like Asar Imhotep. He's one of the main proprietors of it's the black land. What's the word that they used to use? It's the riparian land. Like nah, they talking about the people. Like Uncle Reggie came on here and showed why would they be talking about the land when during that time the land was at a drop? They like the land was, don't get me wrong, like brother Uncle Hercules is saying the land was special, but when it came to that Kemet word, they was talking about the like black city, black land, but we know that meant land of blacks. We know exactly what that meant. Land of black people. We are they try to romanticize or superimpose the land over the people when it comes to Kemet. You know what I'm saying? And we got so many elders like Asar and Hotep. He'll say riparian land, or no, it means land. It don't mean people. But we got too many elders on our side now that know what the fuck going on. Osiris was a black god. We're talking about the black sheep, the black bull. Shout out Uncle Reggie, the black city. So what you gonna say? The city was black. The city was special. No, we talking about like Magic City, nigga. Black nigga, black chocolate, nigga. We know what a black's at. That's what the hell going on.
Yeah, and that's the thing, because that's the thing I was saying earlier. That's why it's important for us to get into African philosophy. If we start reading the philosophy, their philosophical approach, then you will understand why they say it's both. They referring to the land and they referring to the people. Remember, in black languages, in African languages, black is not a negative term. That's a European ideology. Black being negative. And Akan, when I just said the word a BB mine means land. BB is the word for black and dark. And tree, BB is a positive thing. When they ask, you say, I forgot how they say it. I think it's I think they say like, oh, how do they BB or something like can I give me some pure water? They say how BB. You know, black is pure. They look at the sun and they say, wow, that's a powerful sun. You know, they I forgot, you know, again, I forgot the exact language, but it's, you know, something BB. You know, the sun that's powerful. B and tree means dark, and it means power, and it means pure. Our ancestors in Kemet understood that the creator, Amun Ra, was dark, powerful, and pure. So that's why they call themselves black, because they was imitating themselves after the creator. That's what we all want to do. We want to imitate ourselves after the creator. The creator is pure. The creator is powerful. The creator is black and beautiful. That's why in African languages, black is not a negative term. It's only in European languages, which we speak, English, Spanish, German, and French, black is negative. So we have to come. So, but when you come from an African point of view, we start reading that African philosophy. You know, you're getting into African spirituality. You see that, and you see that the positivity behind the word black and stuff. So, yeah, our people. We gotta stop listening to white people, man. And listen to these our enemies, your Asians, and start listening to, you know, our people, our own people who's doing the work, who's doing the research. Dr. Zulu, the book that I showed earlier, is in South Africa, and he set up his own institution to do science. You know, to do science from an African perspective, a black perspective. That's his whole notion. And same thing with Dr. Mbong. He's doing the same thing. There's a lot of black people out there now that's starting to realize, like, yo, we have to come from our own perspective. Listen to what our ancestors said. You know, the Dogon they've been on string theory. You know, they were surprised when the Dogon told them about Series A and Series B. And then they got shocked more when they started talking about how the universe started. And they was talking about the Po, the little egg. And they talk about they draw the wiggly lines that was inside the Po before it exploded and created the universe. They was on that string theory level. And we know the Dogon were directly from where? From Kemet. They come directly from Kemet. So yeah, so just because our stories of the creation of the universe are anthropomorphic and stuff doesn't mean that they're not true. All right? They put them into stories like that easier for people to digest, because not everybody is going to understand. But today, like I said, today is like, you know, you can learn anything today. Back in those days, you had to be initiated into a certain level, and most of y'all listen, y'all understand that. Y'all understand, because some of y'all probably Masons, and y'all in the elk lodge and stuff. You gotta be initiated to go to certain levels, and then you learn certain stuff. So that's how it was back then. That's how it was, and personally, I think that's the right way to do things, because you publish this stuff online.
Everybody can't go. Everybody can't go.
That's right. Yeah, a lot of people gonna be left behind. We're gonna have to, because a lot of people they can't let that European lifestyle go. They can't live without that. I grew up. I'm from DC. My mom lived in DC. My dad lived in Maryland, and tell y'all the area. DC, Maryland, Virginia are right next to each other. You can walk literally, to Maryland. You can walk over to Virginia from DC. Ride your bike and stuff. They're right next to each other. So my dad lived in Maryland. My mom lived in DC. My dad had a little acre of land. He had like an acre, I think acre and a half of land. And the house that he had was like built in the early 1900s. So it didn't have indoor plumbing. So I grew up, by my dad. I didn't have running water. And I told my daughter that one day, and she was like, "Wait, what?" She was like, "What the hell? You didn't have running water?" I said, "Nah." I said, "In the summertime, man, when it rained hard outside, we would go outside and wash up. We would rush. We didn't have running water. We washed up in buckets of water and stuff." I learned how to, the house wasn't insulated properly, so we had a fire, so we had to build a fire and stuff during wintertime every night. And so I grew up without running water, sometimes without electricity. I grew up, understanding that things is difficult. You just can't wake up sometimes, and it's nice and warm in the house, or you just can't wake up sometimes, and you got food everywhere. And there are people, people in America today, they electricity go out, they're gonna be fucked. They're not gonna know what to do. Like how they ain't gonna know how to, like, they're gonna be panicking, like, what I'm gonna do? So my daughter was like that because the power went out. It was a big storm and the power went out in DC. They was at the house scared and shit. So I went over there and said, "Hey, calm down, and showing her what to do. Here's some buckets of water. You keep this right here, ready so you can wash up, you can cook with, and this and that. Some people just don't know this. It's just basic knowledge. What do you do, if we didn't have all this power, electricity and stuff, what would you do? How would you survive? How would you, prepare yourself to live? And a lot of people can't live like that because we're spoiled, and you spoil. I say we spoiled because, we think this is normal, but when you go, around the world, I've been to Africa and I've been to Asia, some people, they just don't have electricity. They don't have indoor plumbing. They got a nice place to stay. They got shelter over their head, and they just live. So, what the fuck is knowledge?
White knowledge. Yeah, Uncle Kyle is on the panel. Uncle Kyle, go and ask the question. You got it.
Yeah. Peace to everybody that's on the panel. Peace to Wavy, man. The lock god, man. Hey, look, man, wait. I was almost there where you at right now, man. I cut my locks off, man, back a few years ago, man. Well, I'm slick hating on your locks right now, man. But do your thing, fam. I hate y'all young niggas with full heads of hair, man. I swear to God, I hate all y'all motherfuckers, man. Hey, but once you hit your 40s, Wavy, you'll realize you ain't gonna be wavy. You're gonna be patchy, man, just like me, man. But anyway. I hit the link, man, because I'm late coming in, and I saw the title. Can y'all recap me, because I don't want to make no false assertions or claims and stuff like that. Can like what is white knowledge versus right knowledge? What does that mean to y'all?
All right, yeah, real quick, I can do it, no problem. I'm gonna go back to I'm gonna share my screen real quick to go back to it. So basically, I'm just saying that there's a difference in between what black people do and what white people do. All right, and and our ancestors understood that, you know, and that comes from when you get into like reading. Let me get this right. I got this here. African philosophy. You will understand that there's a difference in the way that Black people approach doing science and how white people approach it. There's a complete difference. And the main thing, we learned from Marima Ani and say Jacob Carruthers is that our ancestors, they did science with spirituality. Today science is separate from spirituality, from or religion. White people have a religion. We didn't have religion. We had spirituality. And this is a quote from I think he was an Egyptologist. Marshall Collins is here. You can see the quote where he's saying that the science from ancient Kemet was always connected to religion, the myth and magic. It was never a separate thing. It was always one. And that's because the science and spirituality of the ancestors went hand to hand. Whereas today, science and religion, Western religion, don't go hand in hand. All right. The ancestors' science was based off of their spirituality was based off science, was based off the ecology that they lived in, based off the universe, actual things that's happened in the universe. That's what it was based off of. Example that I gave was that if Ra dies, we all die. Period. Ra is what? The sun. If the sun dies, we all die. So that's basically the difference between Black science and European science. And I know people don't think about that. They like, wait a minute, man. Math is just math. 1 + 1 is 2. You know what I'm saying? If I differentiate x, x squared, it's just going to be 2x. No matter what you do, you take the integral of x squared over a curve, you're going to get what? X to the third over 3. I mean, come on, man. I could do that in Europe. I could do that in Africa. It's going to be the same. But that's not what we mean. It's the approach of how you're approaching to do science and your results. For Europeans, for white people, doing science is understanding the elements in nature, extracting an element from nature and finding a way to exploit that element and profit from it. Oh, damn. I wanted to show. Hold on. I wanted to show. But yeah, that's. Our elders have been talking about this for a minute. And it's a concept you're like, wait, what? What do you mean? Because I remember reading this in Urugu. Mariba Ani had talked about this in Urugu, you know what I'm saying? Long time ago, you know what I'm saying? When she did that joint. And I was like, wait, what do you mean the difference between, Black science and white science? There's a difference and stuff like that between Black people. So real quick, I'm going to let Baba Amos Wilson, I'm going to consider myself an Amos Wilsonist. I love his work. I want to show this and let him talk on this joint.
Have classrooms filled with general and introductory psychologists written by white men and women, and think you're learning something neutral, non-political psychology. No such thing as a neutral and non-political psychology. There is no neutral and non-political course in this institution, and I'm talking even about physics, mathematics, and computer science. I heard some joking the other night, there is no Black chemistry. There is no Black physics. Lies. Because you must understand that chemistry and physics and mathematics and all flows from the consciousness and mind of man. They do not exist apart from that. That science flows from the political and social and economic organization of a people. Science just does not pop up in the minds of geniuses. People must exist in a particular political, social, historical context in order for science to develop and to flourish. And unless you know the historical, political context in which science is created and motivated, you will not create science. You will then educate some people who can think in science And then those same people will be used by your enemies to destroy you and your children.
And that's exactly what we got going on today amongst our people. And so last thing I'm gonna say, brother Kamal Rashid said, he's following off of Jacob Carruthers' paper on science and oppression. And Kamal Rashid just said, I've noticed a number of African thinkers who present themselves as African-centered, as advocates of re-Africanization, who emphasize the imperative of us reclaiming our culture and restoring our sovereignty while also fostering Western science as the path to our redemption. I'm puzzled as to how an appreciation of the former does not generate a more critical view of the latter position. All right, so he's like, how y'all want to use Western science, their approach to doing science and doing research and doing work, to talk about we need to liberate ourselves. That doesn't equate. All right, and so that's what I meant by when we talk about white science.
Let's let Brother Kaye respond. You dropped a lot.
Yeah, and I appreciate you for doing that, bro. Sincerely, I do. So now I have a better understanding. Excuse me. So from what I just heard, it sounds like you are not against science in general, but you're against the separation of science from the spiritual systems that Africans propagated or pushed forward when we were developing science in Africa. Is that kind of sum it up? Like you're continuous a separation that happens from science and spirituality.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. So with that being understood, like do you feel like it's problematic for the community to not hold to a religious position and still push forth the science? Or am I making sense? Like what I'm saying, like, because can one practice the tenets of African science but not be engaged in an African spiritual system?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I don't know, truthfully, because from what I understand, like I said, we have to.
No, nigga, you got to get initiated, Kaye. Your ass got to get initiated.
We have to get into African philosophy. We got to get deep into African philosophy. And it's one of the things that a lot of people don't. We study the history, you know what I'm saying? We study the spirituality, the politics, but a lot of people are not studying the philosophy. And it's in the philosophy, their approach and their understanding of the universe, what they think of their morals and values, that you begin to understand their approach. So them saying that, denying the spirit and just being scientific would be, that's not being African at all, because you acknowledge your ancestors, you know what I'm saying? You pour libations, you get into that, you know what I'm saying? That's spirituality. So for them to deny the ancestors would be kind of like Eurocentric,
Can I? Okay, so are you particularly initiated in the African spiritual system?
I wish I was. I was supposed to be, and I didn't show up. I was in Ghana, and I got in trouble, so I didn't show up to the initiation. I got in trouble. But yeah, I haven't been. No.
Oh, okay. So I'm gonna give you I personally am initiated into an African spiritual system, and my Baba Lao, he actually is a biochemist. Excuse me. His name is Faola. If you want to look him up, he's on my page on Facebook. I have a great relationship with him, and he told me that you do not need to, or you should not mix the two together. Like, how would you respond to someone who says something like that?
I guess it would depend on what his level of understanding of the two. So whatever spiritual system it is, I don't know which one you're in.
It's Shay.
Okay. So
Are you
from my
familiar with that?
understanding, no, where's that one from?
Nigeria. This is the Yoruba spiritual system where some people falsely call Ifa today.
Okay, okay, okay. So wait, so yeah, from my understanding, I haven't. I've read. What is that book? Oh, Efi. It's written by a white guy, the Orishas and something I forgot.
Yeah,
But
I'm not sure about anything written by a white guy, but we do have the Odus.
yeah,
We have
yeah,
so in the Odus, it tells you that the wisdom and knowledge is like so that will represent something that you should seek. And the Odus are supposed to be written according to current knowledge.
yeah. So like I was saying, well, what I was trying to say was that from my understanding, from the Efi. Um, hold up. Wait, I got the book right here. I'm about to tell you. Give me a second. Damn it. Oh, here it is. All right, yeah. The guy is Philip John Newmark. It's The Way of the Orisha. This is one of the books that I started reading when I was interested in Ifa and the spiritual system. From it was suggested, brother Smalls, James Smalls suggested this book, and it was
Okay, that makes a lot of sense now. Okay, gotcha.
yeah. So but anyway, so from my understanding of what I've been told, like from the books I've read, I was like years ago, the stories that they tell reflect the universe. You know what I'm saying? Reflect the beginnings of the universe, and and you can relate it to what's going on. This lady, I forgot who was telling. I forgot the lady name. I don't think it was Marine, but Ani, but I think it was somebody. She was talking about Yin and Ya, and she was saying how Yemen. It was a story they told about Yin and Ya representing the ocean and representing the deep part of the ocean, and how it's dark in that ocean, that part of the ocean, and how photosynthesis does not take place in that ocean. And Yemen Yah, it was a story that was telling about Yemen Yah, and Yemen Yah was explaining that. Her story explained that photosynthesis stopped at a certain level in the ocean because there's no light, and we know that's true today.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know, like, his level of understanding or what his level of understanding might be, but for some people in other circles, the stories that they tell reflect actual things that's going on in nature.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so the Odus in itself, the purpose of them are to be what's the word I want to look for? A growing or a changing narrative, right? So like there are no babalawos in Nigeria that keep a stagnant or a stationary Odu set. It's their
Yeah.
job as Babalawos to correct the Odus and update the Odus as we go along. So the older the Odus you have, the more primitive the understandings of the natural world are, right?
Yes, I
And
understand. Yup. Yup. I
and,
understand that too.
and so as a Babalawo, their job is to be updated to the current sciences and then recreate the stories. This is why I like Ifa and or Shay Shay, right? It's because they're like, how like in the Bible you get a story from 3,000 years ago, and that story has to mean what it means then, what meant then, like it means now, right?
Yup. Yup.
But in Ifa, the Ifa means wisdom, right? So they create new stories, and like you'll find 17 Babalawos based on their current level of understanding of the scientific world. They'll have 17 different stories. You see what I'm saying?
Yup.
And the Babalawo is the person whose job is to be scientifically literate, to be able to interpret these stories and give the people in the community the scientific literacy. So I'm not disagreeing with you on that portion. You know what I'm saying? So like I believe that in those societies, it is very, very important for a person who can't go to a university or a college to get some type of knowledge that they can pass down, because once things that are told in story form, you can retain it a lot easier, but also the transmission of those stories is also a lot easier. But at the same time, they're using information from the collective of the global experience of science. It's not based on their particular understanding, because as as big as the earth is, as we have social media, we have internet access, information is being shared globally. So the Odu's purpose is to give people in a scientific, in a storytelling manner, the truth about what their current existence is dealing with. Is that making sense?
Yeah, definitely. I definitely understand what you're saying, because that's what Dr. Zulu talks about in the book that I showed, a book called "The Secret Desert," "The Secret Knowledge of the Desert" by Dr. Zulu, and he says he points out that in African culture, in Black culture, lecturing and speaking, teaching by lecturing is highly valued than writing down. All right. And in Western culture, writing down is more highly valued than just oral teachings. So in African culture, they say, we do oral teachings because facts change. Facts change over time. So you could change the facts, in your stories to fit the time that, that's coming up, or the time that you're in. So that's why things were told orally throughout the centuries. And it was more valuable, to tell things orally. But yeah, yeah, definitely. So that's it. Yeah, I see where you're coming from, because they that was their approach.
Yeah. And I'm not coming at you. Like I said, before I just came in, I caught like the last almost 10 minutes. So I'm trying to catch up to the conversation. I'm trying to understand what you're saying, but I just wanted to make sure that you're properly representing African, in particular, West African traditions for what they are, what their purpose is. And their purpose is to make sure that the people who follow, or the initiates, understand the importance of science. Because like my name is Ifagaba Maliki. That means that knowledge or wisdom is my strength. And so the goons read me and said that, hey, I need to be completely aware of the world that I'm in. And it doesn't mean that I need to be aware of the spiritual system. I need to be aware of the world that I'm in through science and scientific literacy, so that I can properly navigate those systems, so that I can be a stronger and a more important person. And I want to make sure that we're not saying don't practice science, because science is absolute and true until is falsified. But when I say absolute and true, that means that's the best thing that we have until something, meaning like a new technology, comes about to give us a better understanding of the natural world. And we use that in Isheshe to interpret our natural world, and then we build mythos around that, and then we push that out to the people who may not have access to those social systems of education, so they can understand the world that they live in. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Did you said the last 10 minutes? Did you catch when I was talking about the particle in the box, Schrodinger's equation?
I think I caught the last portion of that. Yeah, I caught a little bit of it. Yes, sir.
So what I was trying to show was that I'm not. I love doing science. I enjoy it. I'm a sci-fi person. But as I've gotten older and started read and learn more, I understand that there's a difference in the approach of doing science that our ancestors had than how the Europeans approach doing it. And I was showing that from the particle in the box, Schrodinger's equation for solving a time-independent particle was something that they did in Kemet, in ancient Kemet. They understood, particle in the box. They understood it, and they understood what it meant, and how to define a wave, and how to use the wave if you locate the particle and energy. And they did that with in the king's chamber, and they did it for the natural healing of the body, because the king's chamber resonates at 117 hertz, and your DNA resonates at 117 hertz. And so what they were showing that, you can use this particle, you can use this box, this sarcophagus, to heal your DNA. As in Western culture, they use the particle in the box to find a way to what? Control the atoms to build more destructive weapons.
Yeah,
So
but I think that you may be infusing anachronisms into what you're saying. Like I believe I'm saying that word correctly. Forgive me if I'm not, but you're using what you know today to interpret what they wrote then. And I'm not gonna say they didn't know anything about it, because I've not read all the different writings on the walls of Kemet and they different papyri, but I've never seen them discuss that. But it seems as if you're using what you know right now to interpret the text to make a civilization that came, what, 5,000 years prior up to speed to what your knowledge is today, and that's giving us a disservice on where we currently stand on knowledge and education.
so again, yeah. So I talked about that. I talked about that as well, because if we perceive time like the Europeans perceive it, then yeah, you would think that. You would think, oh, you're just trying to apply what we know today to something you see that they did back then. They're trying to make it. No, 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 no. I know it seems like that. Yes, it seems like that. But what? Hold up. Let me share my screen. I'm gonna show you. Let me just. Let me show you. Um, how I came for the. How I came to this. I came to this idea. So I was talking about the philosophy of science. These are two brothers, Mbong Bosong and Dr. Zulu, who are scientists, and they talk about reconnecting that, getting back to that ancestral knowledge. But how I came to this is that I came across an article. No, I'm not. I came across an article. This one, written by a Russian mathematician. And this guy was saying that, Stonehenge was built by the ancient Egyptians 3,000 years ago. His whole thing is, hey, there was only one group of people moving stones that large, and they came from Africa. And he goes through he's saying this is an area view of Stonehenge. He goes through this, and he's saying that, Stonehenge, this is it's a representation of a partial differential equation. That's what it is. And he breaks it down to, like, not this one. He breaks it down, the elements. He's showing you that here, these are Kemetic symbols. And he said this is the Ankh right here at Stonehenge.
I want you to go back there right quick. I want to walk through this. Like, this is pseudoscience, bro.
No, hold on. Wait. Before you go, wait. Before you, I know. Wait. See, now, hold up, because we would have to go through the whole article, and I seriously don't want to sit up here and read the whole article. That's why I'm giving it to you, so you could go through it.
Yeah, I mean, but I understand what you're saying. Like, and I can pull up articles right now that say that great aliens exist, and if I flip through it really fast and then deny you the opportunity to ask questions to challenge it, then I got like.
All right, go ahead. I'm gonna leave it up. Go ahead and read it. Go ahead, read it.
If you could scroll down to that graph that you just showed that had the unk that was scroll down a little bit more if you don't mind. It was coming up after all this.
I know what you're saying. I'm gonna go down. I'm gonna scroll to it. There you go.
Yeah, right there. Like, that's you see what just happened? Like, he made that. That's not anything. You see what I'm saying? And like, for that to be depicted in a graph, the dotted figure near a south barrow, but like that's not anything unless you have a pattern of that doing something, and you can show that pattern in ancient Kemet and being explained to so people can understand it. That doesn't really hold a lot of weight. And then for them to say that this dotted figure contains a lot of important ideas, we can see the Egyptian symbol Shin, which means eternity. They made that up. That's what pseudoscience is.
But you would have to show that Shin does not mean eternity.
No. You would have to show that them little 3 dots actually is Shin. You see what I'm saying? Like if you scroll up just a little bit right on that picture, like you would have to show me that them 3 dots right there mean Shin, because it doesn't.
Okay, where does it? Okay, that's what I'm asking. Where doesn't it say that at?
It says it it says on the second line, the Egyptian symbol Shin.
I know, but that's
Means
what I'm saying.
eternity.
So
And
that's
like,
so hold up, bro. I understand what you're saying. That you can read an article and people are saying this and that, but you're like, yo, hold up, man, this ain't shit. But what I'm saying is, if you want to disprove something, then you will have to pull it up and go through it and disprove it.
No, and I understand that as well. But that's the thing about falsification of data and scientific literacy. Like when someone makes an assertion, sometimes people can make an assertion that's founded on ideas that are substantiated, but then they can also make assertions into conversations that have no scientific backing behind them whatsoever. And I'm saying that right there, I can't understand or I can't see the scientific backing from that assertion, and I would challenge that no other scientists have also came up with that same conclusion.
And yes, I'm agreeing with you. I understand what you're saying, but you would still have to show that. It's not up to him to prove it. It's up to you to prove it.
No, that's the part when you posit something into a conversation, right? So just because one person posited something into a conversation that is unsubstantiated, it doesn't mean that the burden of proof has been shifted to the parties that are saying, hey, this is a little strange, I don't agree with this. The burden of proof is still on the person who has posited that into the conversation. And I'm challenging you to say that there is no backing behind that particular assertion to the conversation. From this article, not from anything you said. You based your stance on this article, which is what I'm saying is a posit into a conversation.
Yeah, okay, I get that. Now, yeah, I'm saying that this article, he's showing us that they had an understanding of what we call partial differential equations, and they used that understanding to build Stonehenge to represent the hydrogen atom. That's what he's saying. And so once I read that, I was like, whoa, okay, that's interesting. Now, what else did they have an understanding? Did they actually know partial differential equations? Did they have an understanding of that? So I started to look. Okay, let's see what else could they have known. Is there evidence that they knew partial differential equations? Could they left evidence behind? So you look to see if what could they left behind? So I'm looking at waves, sound waves. Sound waves is a partial differential equation. We know that they played the harp, the violin. They have many paintings of that. So as a person who's a math person, you would sit around and be like, damn, how can I represent that as mathematics? What is that wave as mathematics? What is that? I think it's dumb to say that Newton was the only motherfucker in time that asked the question, yo, why the fuck that apple fall out the tree? You telling me 1,000 years of human beings, Homo sapiens been on this planet, nobody ever asked the question, yo, why that pineapple fall? Why that coconut fall out the tree like that? Why it just don't stay up? So that's what I'm saying. So in their time, there were people who asked these questions, and they came up with formulas. They came up with a way to figure out, oh, this is this. And they did not leave it in particular. The one thing that I had to take was a class. There's a class called mathematical history. And in that class, me and the teacher, we came to an agreement that, hey, you cannot prove what the Greeks learned from Egypt and what they learned on their own. There's no way to prove that, because The Persians came in, the Hyksos came in, the Persians came in, the Assyrians came in, the Romans and the Greeks, they came in, and they destroyed the libraries. They burnt down the libraries. We know Alexander the Great came in and he burnt down, before he burnt down, they ransacked the libraries and they took all the documents. So just to say, oh, well, there's nothing written. That's a European approach.
What I'm saying, bro, like on this screen right now, I can guarantee you that Dr. Ma'at does not agree with this.
No, she don't agree with it.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I personally know Dr. Ma'at.
I know. I
know Dr. Brother Reggie. I personally know them, but you put them in your slide as if they agree with what you're saying because they are adamantly against what you're saying.
That's not why I put them in the slide.
Very,
That's not okay. Like you said, you missed the beginning. That's not why I put them in the slide. I'm just bringing this part up.
Okay,
I'm about to tell you. I'll tell you. I put them in the slide because their presentation on kinetic mathematics and science is what we should watch instead of watching BBC, the fucking National Geographic channel. They have a better presentation on the science of our ancestors. You know, they do a better presentation. And that's what I was saying. You should watch their presentation. The presentation that I'm doing is just a footnote to their presentation. That's all I'm claiming.
No, what I'm saying is you put Dr. Ma'at's name in your presentation, and then you to gather people's attention to believe that Dr. Ma'at believes in the things that you're saying. She does not. Brother Reggie does not believe in the things that you're saying. But you use that to mislead people down a path because you gather people's that the community knows personally to gather them and say that, hey, we understand this because Dr. Ma'at behind, but they're not though. That's what I'm emphatically saying to you. Dr. Ma'at does not believe in any of this stuff you're saying.
I know that, and that's if you got that representation from what just seeing her name up there, I would agree with you. Like, no, I was like, no. Dr. Ma'at says no because I watched her with her and what's the guy from Baltimore? What's the Bama name? Yeah, they did a video just a couple of weeks ago about pseudoscience. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. But they were talking about stuff like what you're doing right now, though, bro. That's the point I'm trying to make. Like, what you are doing right now is introducing people to pseudoscience, and Dr. Ma'at is a practitioner. She is a doctor in real science. She is an engineer. She's an electrical engineer. She teaches at a HBCU university, and she would not agree with anything that you're saying. Brother Reggie also is a good friend of mine. He would never agree with anything that you are saying right now, and to put their names in your presentation is misleading at best.
All right, that's facts. I have my degree in mathematics. I'm not an engineer. I'm not a fucking engineer. All right, my degree is in mathematics. All right, and I've posted on abibatumi.com, the Black website started by Obadale Cambone. I posted that video of Dr. Ma'at and Brother talk about pseudoscience because, truthfully, it pissed me off. And the post is still up there. And I asked everybody, I said, am I the only one who understands that there's a difference between Black science and white science? And everybody on that website said no. They understand that, yes, there's a difference between Black science and white science. And I thought Dr. Ma'at understood that as well, but she don't. And I understand that. I understand that she doesn't agree with my point of view, but you have to understand there are other people who I just talked about, Dr. Zulu and Dr. Mbong, who are black scientists who agree with my point of view, would disagree with Dr. Ma'at. But you know what I'm saying? She's not the only scientist, the Black scientist, bro.
I will guarantee you
maybe I should take their names out. Hold on. So nobody could get no misunderstanding.
Hold on real quick. Nah, you shouldn't take those names out because, hey, Kyle, this is what happened, Kyle. what y'all was going over, what you seen, Kyle, was the end of his PowerPoint. Where when he put Dr. Mayat, that was at the beginning of his PowerPoint. And if you just go like you say right there, that's the fourth slide. If you just go to the second and third slide, it'll agree with Dr. Mayat. Even on African philosophy, Dr. Mayat agrees with that. Nah. Go to your second and third slide. Because you put Dr. Mayat name on the fourth slide. But if you go, your second and third slide. Go to your second and third slide. See, that's Dr. Mayat approved. Go to your third slide. That's Dr. Mayat, ancient mathematics. I don't know about that, but what I'm saying is, the way he was breaking it down, Kyle, the way he was breaking it down in chronological order, he didn't just throw Dr. Mayat name in there out of nowhere. Like Dr. Mayat agrees with African philosophy, but I think you caught the tail end, Kyle.
Yeah, no. I admit that I caught the tail end. I didn't catch the full thing.
Hey, Kyle, at the end, he was going over the mathematics and he mentioned Dogon. So I know them pseudo antennas went up, Kyle.
What I am saying to y'all is that because something is African, it does not mean it's correct. Y'all understand? So like when science is a language that could be interpreted and could be viewed, falsified by anybody, no matter what their religion or spiritual system is. Can we agree to that? Like if I say 2 + 2 = 4, no matter what language you speak, however you break it down, if you got 2 or something and add 2 more, that's fucking 4, whatever in whatever language that you're speaking. Can we agree or disagree on that?
We agree.
All right. And what I'm saying is that when you introduce spirituality into the equation, 2 + 2 does not always have to equals 4 in spirituality, because you have an outside force that can be interjected into the equation to change the mathematics. And so science is done, like actual science is done in a secular means. That means that no religion, no belief system is interjected into your scientific practices. That's what actual science does. Now, when you absorb that science back into the community, yes, absolutely, you can interpret that and bring it to the people in a way that the common folks can understand it, but it's not going to be as deep of an understanding as one that is a practitioner of said science would gain understanding from it.
I got what you're saying, Kyle. I feel like this what I understood from Uncle Hercules presentation. I feel like basically what he was saying was we got to stop thinking like a white man as far as how we approach shit. Just like this, brother. If you think like a white man how you approach a dog, you're not gonna buy a pit bull. You're gonna buy a damn Doberman Spencer. So that's basically what he's saying. Approach all of this shit. We got to get back to an African centered thinking as we go into these subjects. Now, yes, everything is universal when it comes to mathematics, feelings, expression, and language. Yes, everything is universal. He's just speaking on the thought processes going into these practices. I feel like that's all he was saying.
Yeah, I mean, so if one were to introduce the tenets of the foundational aspects of Pan-Africanism into it, when you engage in the science and you go and use what you know by testing and falsifying it, and then bring the information back to the community that which one resides in, that will be acceptable.
Nah, this what I and that I heard you say that earlier. It's more so like this, Kyle. The Egyptians was Africans that was practicing math, practicing science. They didn't go outside of Africa to learn science, then bring it back here, gang. That's all he's saying. He's just saying that whatever we was doing, we need to get back to that way of thinking. As far as we seen how our shit lasts longer than they shit. We seen these motherfuckers buildings tipping over and shit. All he is saying is they can't steal our goddamn science and then now we follow them. No, we was already doing this shit. Let's get back to what we was doing. If we gonna say science is universal, if we gonna say they stole our shit and then they capitalized on it, and it's a damn ping pong effect or boomerang effect, then we'll agree with you. But if we just saying that these motherfuckers hijacked science out of Africa and now we just need to follow them, they got the correct way, that's where you getting behind the 8 ball. More so understanding.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Now I get what you're saying. I think the title of, okay, so let me give you my spiel, right? So the title of this is Uncle Hercules presents right knowledge versus white knowledge, right? And so what that does is it actually juxtaposes knowing some shit or versus knowing some shit that came from a white person. And we all know that the sciences are developed on the African continent, and white people partook in the sciences that we developed. And so when we come back to the sciences that we developed, we have no obligation whatsoever to adhere to their version of science, because their version of science, no matter how they twist it, is still our science that we developed. And so when we want to be at the purest level of scientific literacy, we got to understand what science is without the interjections of Christianity and Islam and all that type of other shit. We got to get back to what our ancestors said, right? So we on the same page now, I believe. And so there is no such thing as white science, because science was developed on the African continent. And I appreciate the brother for showing that on the screen. And it may just be my issue may just be the wording of the title of the podcast.
I think you shooting at that title. Hey, and look, Kyle. hey, Kyle, for his to help it out a little bit, I made that title up.
Okay. Yeah, you got me with the clickbait. I ain't gonna lie. You got me pissed off. I'm like, man, how was anything white science? We created science. So that may be my frustration, the title. But what I'm saying is that we have individuals that are in the scientific community. I'm one of those individuals in the scientific community. Dr. Reggie, he partook in the scientific community. Now he's into the historical community, which is still science at the same time. Dr. Maat's in the scientific community. We have a plethora of people who participate. And simply because we participate in a system that we actually established on the African continent, and that we can show and prove, like I can show and prove right now that the internet was founded and created by a black man from Nigeria, Igbo man. I can show and prove that binary code came from Nigeria as well. I can show and prove these things. I can show and prove the chemistry experiment, the alchemy and stuff like that. I can show and prove that those things are black things. And when we practice those things, we need to put away the spirituality and simply practice those things. But we can give that information to the people, because like you don't want to teach a third grader or a high school student I don't know, like what I'm saying, like master's level chemistry. You give them something that they can digest and ingest at their particular level, and that's what African traditions.
Hey, let me give you my opinion on that conversation y'all was having earlier, right? Yeah. Okay, so when your Baba Lao told you to put your science and religion separate, right? You say you practice in the African religion, the science that you would be practicing would be the white science. So basically what I'm saying is
no, it wouldn't be though.
Oh look, let me explain.
It wouldn't be.
If we go back,
go ahead, my bad.
Let me explain real quick, and I got you. If you go back to our ancestors, they were skilled craftsmen, whether getting initiated or not. It was kind of like going to a university to understanding this skill for whatever they was participating in. For us, like you practice African spirituality, but we getting our science from the white man. Is it possible that because when I be hearing Africans, they be like, yes, we went to school in France. Yes, we went to school here, but just like what you just said, it was a Nigerian that created binary code. You know what I'm saying? It be so much overlapping that it'll be like, do this Nigerian brother got a patent? Like, do he got a Nobel Peace Prize? We need to more shed more light on that than more so of now with the Harvard believing this guy. If you understand, it's more so of a African centered thinking of yes, we do the same things over there, but some of our people didn't have to leave to understand how to build something that'll last for 4,000 years. Go ahead, Uncle Kyle.
That's what I was saying. That's what I'm saying about the Schrodinger's equation of time independence. That they had an understanding of what that is. They didn't write it the way Schrodinger did. They didn't figure it out the way Schrodinger did. But what I'm saying is that they already had an understanding of the time independence equation of a particle in a box. That's what I'm saying.
Hey, and Kyle, one last thing. This is white thinking. If I write it down, I'm first. If I write it down, we started it over here. That's just white thinking. So understanding all of that into context, Uncle Kyle, you got the floor.
Okay, so I personally do not understand how that's white thinking. So I guess that's another area of confusion for the conversation, Wavy, because I don't understand how having an idea and patenting your idea so you can get financial gain off of it is white thinking. That's because of the times that we live in. I think that's intelligent thinking, right? But I don't make the connection to white science and black science or African science, because like science is open for all people to participate in. Science is simply the observation of nature. You know what I'm saying? If you can figure it out, great. If you can write it down, even greater, because now you can pass the information down to somebody else. But
so you don't think Europeans it's different levels to it. Now we got biology, chemistry. Back then we had those things, but it wasn't their own fields. You get what I'm saying?
You know, I understand what you're saying completely. I identify with what you're saying. You're saying that it's not formalized education to get you introduced to those fields, right? Is that kind of what you're saying, Wavy?
Now I was pretty much just saying how you got school science and then you got African science.
Okay, so is African science non-school science? Is that what you're saying?
Wait,
my bad. You got European. My bad. You got European or Western civilization science, and then you got African science.
Yeah. Okay. So let me say, African. So the thing is, like, the science it's a hard concept to grasp. It's not something that you like. Wait a minute, Jen. 2 + 2 is just 4. What are you talking about? Mariba, like I said, Mariba, I ain't talking about this.
It's the way you approaching it.
Yeah, the way that white people.
I'm gonna be honest. I could be completely.
In Africa, we don't have these formulas and equations and shit.
Yes, we do, nigga. What you talking? Have you been to West Africa?
I'm talking about like in ancient civilization.
Oh, okay. Obviously, like I've been to Africa, bro. Like they go to school just like we go to school.
No,
I'm talking about ancient. My bad. Not that.
Okay.
No, if you look at the papyrus, the scrolls of the papyrus, the Moscow papyrus, the Rhine papyrus, they have formulas and steps that you got to follow, to solve a problem. This is how you do it. And a paper that I read by one guy, I forgot the guy's name. I can look it up real quick. But the guy was saying, hey, listen, by the time the Greeks came, by the time the Romans came, these people were thousands of years deep already into this work. Is it possible that by the time the Greeks came, that the need for a proof was no longer needed because it was already known? So we don't approach it like that. White people approach it like, yo, well, how can you prove that? Where's the proof behind that? It's like, yo, this is known. We already know this. This is known. We've been knowing this for the last 4,000 years. How much proof do you fucking need? We built the pyramid to show you that this angle equals this. I mean, come on, how much? So it's the approach. White people approach science, they took spirituality away from it. It says spirituality has nothing to do with it. Religion got nothing to do with it. That's because in Western religion is based on a revelation.
This is the best way I could explain it, Uncle Kyle. Imagine you cooking with no music on. Cooking, getting it out the way. You hearing the timer ding. You know what I'm saying? And the meal is prepared. Now imagine you cooking with some DMX song. Where the bitch is at? Where the hoes at? Where the bitch is at? Uncle Kyle, what I'm saying is we gotta differentiate the flavor. Like we see what they got the science goggles on, they got the lab coat and all of that. I'm just saying our people was on something.
Okay, so from where your example is, Wavy, I am a proponent. I want to make fucking being a nerd cool, right? I'm completely okay with that. I listen to motherfucking look, man. I don't even want to tell y'all who I listen to when I be doing my little research and shit. Like I be in the lab at work listening to Honeycomb Crazy while y'all playing.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Like I be hearing shit about murdering niggas, blowing nigga brains out, trapping, but I'm in here doing mathematical equations and figuring out shit, and that's just my vibe, right? But if a person standing right next to me doing that same thing, but is listening to fucking what's that again, John Mayer or some shit, it doesn't mean that he's producing different kind of science. He just being motivated by other outside factors. But the science is still the science. What the test that I run is the test that he runs. You know what I'm saying? No matter what my fucking motivation or what gets me excited about it is, it's still the same process. That's what I'm saying.
No, we're not disagreeing with the process. We disagreeing with we just showing you it's a different approach to it.
Yeah.
Different outcome.
I can't disagree with that. Like the reason why I'm fucking into the fields of science is because I don't like fucking being broke. I've been there. But a motherfucker who live in a fucking household born with a silver spoon, they might in their mouth, they might just do this shit because they love it. I just don't want to be broke. I got bills to pay. And so my motivation is definitely different than another motherfucker's motivation for being in the field of science. So I understand that point. But at the same time, we still got to run the same tests. We got to write the same abstracts. We got to do the same results. We got to put the same information in to show how we did our fucking test. Those things are consistent. And so when you say there's white science versus black science, the motivation itself does not enter into the equation of science, because science begins and ends where the experiment is, where the testing or the falsification is.
All right, now look. Now, at one point we've been live for 3 hours. Now, one point in this live, did me or Brother Hercules say a certain science is better than the other science? We just speaking on this has been written down. It's been written down and proven, and we got shit that's been that's in your face. You know what I'm saying? It's destroy evidence, washed away, however you want to put it. We on the same type of time, and we putting the evidence in your face. I think it was more like, I don't think the Brother Hercules was saying we need to leave a science alone and go back to our science. And maybe the wording is clout chasing. But, you feel me? But more so,
I respect that. I respect you even saying that. No, we on the exact same page, man.
If you think we arguing that this science over here is different than this science, that's not the argument at all. You know?
Okay, well, we on the same page then.
It's
we
more
on the
so.
same page.
It's more so. Cooking a meal. If you cooking a meal and you cooking it with no music on compared to cooking it with some music on. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Yeah,
the goal of science is the goal of scientists is to gain the knowledge and bring that knowledge back to your community by any means necessary. In the
and I'm
white
saying,
community, they say, hey, this is our lab results. And in the black community, they say, hey, this is going to be our spiritual system. We're going to bank it on that so that the people in themselves become more scientifically literate. And I believe that if that is what you want to do, Brother Hercules, if that's what you're encouraging, I am 100% with you. And if that's the goal, I am 100% with your goal. In game, sign me up. I'll help you any way I can.
I'm saying, because my thing is, I'm saying, yeah, I'm not like, yeah, you don't need to learn science and do the math and shit. You know, yeah, I'm a mathematician. You know, I love math, so I'm gonna encourage the kids to do. But I'm saying that we have to, since the Europeans, since our enemies dominated the world and the culture, and they dominated the educational system, we have to learn their ways and have to understand where they're coming from. So now the biggest thing now is this artificial intelligence, and this robot thing is starting to come out. So we got to understand it. We got to understand how it works. So we understand how to defeat it when the time comes. You know, we can't just be like, oh shit, nah. You got to understand how to defeat artificial intelligence. And I'm saying,
Go ahead.
we have to get back. We have to get back to that ancestral intelligence, our AI, ancestral intelligence. That's going to help us leapfrog over everybody else because they can't do what we do, and that's one of the reasons why they mad at us. They hate us because shit, our ancestors did what? Put blocks on top of blocks on top of blocks on top of blocks. No screws, no nails, no cement, and that shit been standing for 4,000 years. So their understanding of how to do that, of how to build something without cement and nails that's been standing for 4,000 years, their approach to understanding science and applying science and mathematics in that way is something I'm saying that we should get back into tapping into that ancestral intelligence, that knowledge that we could get from the spiritual realm, from communicating with the spirits. Because in Western culture, they tell you that, you know, the scientists, as you were being a physicist, a scientist, you know, they don't believe in spirituality. They don't believe in souls and shit. That's their culture. That's their concepts. But our people didn't do that. So yeah, so I'm just saying, yeah, let's get back into it. We understand the science today and approach it so we could be able to fight back against, you know, the onslaught that they got going on against us.
And what I took is don't approach shit like a white man. Approach shit like a damn African. Every aspect. Right now we talking about science and mathematics. Approach that shit like a damn African. That's basically what I took from it. The approach, the way you think. Don't think like no goddamn white man. Leave room for growth. Leave room for the African being older. Go ahead, Uncle Kyle.
Hey, why you always do it, man? You say some wild shit, man. Go ahead, go. No. But I mean, if the focal point of the conversation is the empowerment of African American babies, I'm always for it, right? But I just want to make sure that we're not giving them false narratives that we feel would better their lives, but we don't interpret that same. We don't ingest that same mindset for our lives. Like for me, I did not take a black man's or African man's approach to learning science. I learned 2 + 2 was 4. My teacher was black, but I didn't learn it through African spiritual systems. You see what I'm saying? I learned how to navigate my natural world by just learning the facts of it, right? And sciences are taught from a secular position. Secular means that you don't have to interpret it through a worldview based on religion. Once you do that, you are limited by the god or the goddesses that govern that spiritual system. And what I'm saying is, when you interpret the natural world by understanding the natural world around you, you can use that to create and feed that to a spiritual system. I have no problem with that. But if your spiritual system is more important than how you observe the natural world, you're going to fail every time because you're limited based on your possibilities for interpretation of how you even see the natural world.
And that's what I was saying. The ancestor spiritual system was based off what they know of the natural world and what they know of the universe. It wasn't something they just made up. They studied the universe and the environment around them, and then created a spirituality that reflect the universe. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, that's in line with what you're saying, and that's in line in African thinking. And that's what I'm saying. That yeah, I'm just saying we have to tap back into
Mansa, how about this? Let me challenge you, Mansa. From now on out, Mansa, since that's your directive, you go create a new spiritual system, or I'll help you actually, because we love spiritual systems. I will help you create a spiritual system that's based on our current reality for people to interpret their world, but at the same time be connected to the actual physical world. And that's something that I've talked to this with my homeboy Pink Beard. He's been on the podcast. We've talked about this before. We've had this conversation about how spiritual systems limit or promote your growth intellectually. And I believe that, and from everything that I understand, teaches me that a person is only as smart or only intelligent as they God wants them to be in most cases. So, like, Wavy, you be on these chats all the time. You doing the shows now. You are a face on the internet now, and you will see, bro. Like, just take a step back out of what you're doing and listen. People be limited by the God that they believe in because the God has the control. But in reality, people created the gods. You see what I'm saying? And so if the people created the gods and we're using an antiquated version of God to deal with our current reality, we will never be on the forefront of reality or the forefront of civilization because we always revert back to an antiquated version of it. But if we choose to have a progressive God where we can be the creators of that God, this is the same thing they do in Nigeria. This is why my Babalawo was like, whoa, you doing something crazy. You taking something that this ain't really supposed for it to be. You need to slow down, pump your brakes, young boy, because you trying to come back to something that you read in the book about the 1600s or the 1500s. This is not what we doing over here. And I went over there. They was like, hold up now. Oh, I'm in school. I'm a biochemist. Oh, I'm an engineer. Oh, yeah, I practice E-file, but that's not what I really believe in because I understand this is a cultural text. And we bring science into our text so that we can spread the science so that people that live in the huts and the villages or in what's the word I'm looking for? Abakunta State, they can get the information that I've learned while I was in college. You know what I'm saying? And so I think that if we don't romanticize it and we tell these kids and these babies, hey, this 2 + 2 = 4, no matter where you go in the world, this is the scientific method for study. This not gonna change. Your religion can be your religion, but make sure that your religion is in touch with the current reality that you live in.
So that's what I was saying in my thing. So you said,
my bad. You know what? I'm gonna go back and listen to it. I apologize. Let me shut my ass up and go watch the whole thing.
Yeah, I'm about to roll. But what I was saying, that's what I was saying is that because what you said was one thing that you said was like, what I learned from the university, I'm coming back to teach, in the village, the advanced stuff like that. That again, that's coming from that's a Eurocentric point of view, and that's what I was trying to explain, because our ancestors already knew the science and knew the spirituality because that spirituality was based on science. It was not something they just made up and just guessed. It was something that they studied. Like if Ra dies today, we all die. Everybody die. This whole planet, we just dead. Ra is the sun. So if the sun dies, we all die. They had an understanding of the universe and the science, and it wasn't meant for everybody. I know what I'm saying. The Western style is like, hey, teach everybody is open. We can all learn. And I'm saying that's a fucking way of cheating, because it's a way like you got, you know what I'm saying? You know, when you graduate, you know, you got to publish your paper. You got to write a paper, right? You know what I'm saying? You get your bachelor's. When you get your master's, you got to write a paper. PhD, you got to write a paper. You got to publish that shit, right? That's a way of cheating. Because if I can't figure out, damn it, why is this particle not going through this medium? You know, it's blowing me. I can't figure out the math behind it, and I'm trying to. But a motherfucker over in China, Zheng Wei, you know, he figured it out. He wrote a paper on it, and holy shit, I see. Oh, okay. Now I can apply that to my paper, and voila, I solved my problem. Now I got the ability to what? Oh shit, I could kill millions of people if I take this element and I drop it right here. Wow, I could create it. So the way that our ancestors approach is like, no, you have to be initiated to get to this level, because they wanted to see your mentality. You not just anybody could learn this shit, because if you ain't got the mentality to retain this knowledge and keep this knowledge sacred and keep this knowledge, you know, and without harming human life, because you got to remember that their approach from ancient Kemet, their approach was that they want to be one and harmonized with their ecology, with the world that they lived in. They want to be one with nature, want to be one with the universe. They didn't, in Western culture, they want to control nature. They want to dominate nature. You know what I'm saying? The survival of the fittest. You know, I'm the strongest. You know, only the strong survive. That's Western ideology. That's a Western approach to control nature, to dominate nature, to show that, you know what I'm saying, I'm controlling it. And African approach is that you want to harmonize and be one with nature. You got the sacred lands, you got the sacred knowledge, you got the sacred values. So their approach to solving problems.
Man, that's romanticizing.
No,
that's
it's not romanticizing, because
are you aware that human sacrifice is a everyday practice in most of those spiritual systems, bro?
It's not romanticizing, because human sacrifice, hold up. Human sacrifice, again, comes from Europeans try to understand.
No, it does not. No, it does not, bro. Like in EFI, like that's a thing, man. Like they actually used to talk about in the Odus about when you get somebody, you sacrifice them, it gives you power, bro. Like same thing with voodoo, same thing in ancient Kemet. Like they have altar,
but that's the thing. But they did not do it.
They have pools when they used to fill up with human blood to sacrifice the Ra.
Right. You have to show that. You have to show me that. Who said that they did human sacrifices in ancient Kemet, in ancient African civilization?
Man.
Nah, hold on, real quick. They did it during certain dynasties, because it was one dynasty where Pharaoh died and the whole civilization died with him. So that happened like 3 times, but it ain't a normal as far as like this is an everyday thing. What I'm saying, it's not romanticized.
Yes, it is. Bro, it's called a retainer sacrifice, bro. Like bring brother Reggie on here. He would tell you about the retainer sacrifice.
But I'm saying is that I'm asking you.
That's what I'm saying. But we know better than that now, right?
Just name the person that you said that they was doing human sacrifices in ancient Egypt and in ancient Africa before they had contact with Europeans, Eurasians.
Just look up.
Just name the person.
Just look up retainer sacrifices in ancient Kenya.
Yeah, look up retainer sacrifices, man. Like this is.
I'm not saying it's not a thing.
This happened in the Old Kingdom, Middle Kingdom. This happened throughout Kemet, and it also happened up to the 17th, 18th. Matter of fact, let me take that back. It happens now in Nigeria.
Hold on. Retainer sacrifices. Just human sacrifices.
No, not retainer sacrifice. I'm talking about human sacrifices. Yes, like that happens now. To this day, you know what I'm saying? Like my Bible, he was like, "Hey man, stick with us, man. Don't go outside to these little villages."
It's going on in Ghana. It's going on in Ghana
right now too. Thing. Yes, man. Like, but that's because they don't understand what the unit they believe that if I kill this person, I can use his blood because blood is important in those civilizations. But we know that it's not. And so like when you teaching about African spiritual systems, teach that too, because those are things that are the reason why we take a step back out of the spiritual system and say, hey, some of these things we should not be doing.
Okay, so that part I would disagree with, because as you said, human sacrifice. You said they were doing human sacrifice in ancient times. I would ask, were they sacrificing black people or were they sacrificing their enemies? All right. So take a look. So
Both.
hold up. So
Both.
from I just did a quick research. I just did a quick search on Google, and it showed that they was sacrificing mostly their enemies that they was in battle with, and both. Yeah. You had black people that was enemy because they was siding with the Euro Asians. They was clicking up with them, so they would kill them as well. But I understand humans. I understand sacrifice. Like, I'm not initiated, but I was there. I understand. I seen it. I seen them shit. I seen how they do it, and it was amazing. It was some amazing shit. I seen the priest hold down a bull with his hand. You know what I'm saying?
No,
I know.
Person.
I'm about to get to that. I'm about to get to that.
If you was to go to Africa right now and you stumble in the wrong village, you could be a human sacrifice. Are you like?
I understand what you're saying.
Maybe you ain't ever been. Have you ever been to Africa?
Yes,
bro?
I understand what you're saying. I've lived in West Africa.
Okay, so are you aware of the different zones, like the orange zone, the red zone, the yellow zone, the green zones, and stuff like that?
Let me finish. I understand.
Okay.
I understand what you're saying. Human sacrifice and the power behind the ritual and the blood. I understand that. I've seen it happen, but not with humans, but with the animals. And what I'm saying is that a human sacrifice has power behind it. And I've said, and I was trying to explain this to people, that people who, especially Christians, you want to be followers of Jesus and you praying to Jesus, but believing in Jesus only strengthens white supremacy. Why? Because they sacrifice human blood, human lives in the name of Jesus. They've done that shit for thousands of years. So that's why white power, white supremacy is so strong, because they made that sacrifice of human blood. They spilled human blood in the name of Jesus. All right. And so in spiritual, and we know spiritual systems there's reciprocity. There's a give and a take. You don't get shit unless you give something. And spilling human blood in a deity is more powerful. You make a powerful bond. You make a more stronger than spilling blood of a chicken or a pig or a goat or something like that. I make a more powerful bond if I kill humans. White people.
I want you to understand what you just said, bro, because I just met you, but I love you, but I want you to understand what you just said. You just agreed that it is powerful to sacrifice humans for a God concept. That is fucking crazy.
But that's reality. That's the pseudoscience. That's the pseudoscience that
bro.
we're not getting into though.
Oh my God, that is crazy. Wavy, you see why I jumped on here now with this African spiritual shit, bro? Like, that is crazy. The fact that you are on here, you are arguing, not arguing, but you are arguing in a scholarship way to me against me saying that we should not be doing that. And you are saying that it's power in sacrificing him. You literally just said it's power in sacrificing humans. I want you to understand what you just said.
Yes, bro. I'm telling. Listen. Here's the example. Here's my example.
And you saying,
here's my example.
You know what? Look, bro.
Let me give you an example.
You win. Now, I'm listening, but you win. I ain't got no rebuttal for whatever you're gonna say. Nigga, I didn't kill no fucking humans.
Bro, if we
that's where I draw the fucking line, nigga. That shit is wrong.
I'm not saying it's right. I didn't say it was right. I never said it was right though.
Bro, there is no power.
There's power, but I never said it was correct. If you look at Haiti, we talk about Haiti in the revolution, right? They came together. You had different people from parts of the continent, parts of Africa that came together, and when they came together under under the creator of voodoo. They sacrificed, the pig that night before they started that revolution under the creator of voodoo. Everybody was different societies, Airway and Akan and Hausa. They was different sects, but they came together under one creator. They said voodoo would be our creator, and we're going to sacrifice this pig. And this is what I'm saying. The power of African spirituality is so strong.
Hey,
Understand?
look, let me say this. We're gonna do a whole show. Cause I didn't know. See, now I gotta get both of y'all back for another conversation just on that. I ain't know Kyle was initiated, and I ain't know we was gonna be getting into this goddamn. But now, Kyle, we gotta have a conversation. We gotta talk about these blood sacrifices because Uncle Hercules say his power behind it, and that's this conversation just right there could go on for another 3 hours.
Man, I am fucking floored, wavy. I ain't even know. Like, I've been a part of a lot of crazy ass conversations about Christopher Columbus not existing and a flat Earth, but this gotta be the craziest shit. I don't even know how to even respond right now.
I didn't say it was the right thing to do. I just said it's power.
Kyle, he's not saying it's moral. He's not saying it's moral.
I just said it's power.
It ain't no, bro. That is not power behind any. Okay,
I want you to think,
we can
brother.
circle back.
I want you to think about this.
I don't even have an intelligent response.
You
can't.
You can't find this in no science book.
I want you to think about this. Think about this, yo. Amos Wilson, Dr. Amos Wilson. Amos Wilson said, he asked the question. He said, black people are the most religious, in America and in Africa. And yes, I've been to Africa and I've seen how, the most religious, Christianity or Islam, we're the most religious people. But somehow all the blessings from the religion goes the other way. It goes to white people. Africa's underdeveloped and Europe got this, they say, Europe had the Bible. And when they came to Africa, we got the Bible, they got the land, they got the wealth. It's like, how does that happen? How are we most religious? We're the most spiritual, but yet white people are benefiting. The
religious people are always the poorest people. And I can show you that through the census records. I can show you that in ancient Egypt. I can show you that in every society. The more religious a person is, the lower on the food chain of the hierarchy of that society they are.
That'll be interesting because I would say the only pushback I got for that is that in ancient times in Kemet, is that the monetary wealth was not a big thing. And so, I would be interested to see, your point of view on that joint. But
Hold on.
Just remember one more thing. Where you trying to go?
I gotta go back to the trap house. I gotta go, you know what I'm saying? Holler at my baby mamas. I gotta go pay some passport. Hey, man, we about to get up out of here. Uncle Hercules and Kyle, we definitely need to resume this conversation next week, Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, whenever you guys are free. It turned out I thought I was gonna come into this conversation and get some I thought I was gonna get some pseudo, but from checking out this presentation, it actually went great. And the fact that Kyle came on the panel and we dived into African spirituality for another hour and a half, that was a bonus. Uncle Kyle, I appreciate you for coming on the panel every single time, man. You now I know you initiated, goddamn. So I'm about to go watch. the league. I'm about to go. Man,
I appreciate you too, brother Kyle, for pushing back against me. You know what I'm saying? Challenging me. I definitely appreciate that. That was good, man. I like that.
Nah, for real, man. You gotta do this again, man. Like, you articulate yourself, you get your points across, man. I respect it, but we're gonna have to have a long ass conversation about these human sacrifices, my dude, because that is
definitely. All right, y'all. Y'all have a good night, man. Good weekend. Respect.
Hey, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Hopefully, I need both of y'all back on the platform so we can discuss this.
Definitely.
Yes,
All right,
sir.
John.
All right, everybody, take it easy. Like, share, and subscribe.